Sorry for the delay. We want to cover a lot of ground. Welcome to the Marine Advisory Board meeting for Thursday, December 4th. This is kind of our holiday version. Next time we meet, obviously, is after the new year. And as we did last year, our Vice Mayor, John Herbst, is kind enough to join us. There's Steve Hudson's over there. And we'll get to Steve in a second. We're going to drag you in. And we asked John just to stop by. No pressure, kind of just talk about some of the things we've been discussing. But let me first open with a roll call, please.
Chair Witten.
Here.
Mr. Washington.
Here.
Mr. Becker. Mr. Brunel.
Here.
Mr. Colburn. Mr. Dunbar.
Here.
Mr. Flanagan.
Here.
Mr. Frank.
Here.
Mr. Lynch.
Here.
Mr. Roboski.
Here.
Mr. Swaddell.
Swindell.
Present.
Mrs. Ware. Mr. Morley.
Here.
Mr. Mitchell.
Yes.
And Mr. Day.
Here.
Quorum is established.
Okay, thank you very much. So, minutes from last month, we had an interesting meeting. We covered a lot of ground. Dr. Gaston was there, and a lot of interesting things going on. So, anybody have comments, issues from the minutes? Yes, sir.
There's a couple points where it talks about September 26th. Since that hasn't happened yet,
Good chance that's not right.
I figured it's under number 5, good and welfare. It talks September 26th. And then again, under Deputy Parks Director, he gave stuff to September 26th. So otherwise, I thought it was pretty accurate.
Anyone else?
Yes.
Sure.
I don't have an item number here, but it makes reference to a comment that I made about the path of the stormwater down 19th Avenue, and that needs to be corrected. Yeah, I have it.
Oh.
Yeah. My comment was on the stormwater traveling from south on 12th Avenue to 6th Street, west on 6th Street to 15th Avenue, and dumping into the Norfolk River. That correction needs to be made.
Thank you. Anyone else? Mr. Longo, have a motion to approve the minutes subject to as amended. Second, Brett, all in favor? Aye. Anybody opposed? So thank you very much. That brings us to our Vice Mayor, John Herbst. Let me just take a second to discuss that John joined us last year. I have wonderful slides, by the way, which I left in my computer, so you don't get to see those. But John joined us last December. We had a few laughs and shared with John our priorities. Somewhere here we have our whiteboard that we put up. We started with that last year with a joint meeting of MIASF and us. I would say there isn't too many areas we haven't touched, and we solved the problems with a lot of things. This was a unique year for John and his district because generally we don't focus on too much up there. With respect to waivers, etc., it's not something that we're asked an awful lot about, but the recent tragedy on the ICW was in John's district. John was a big supporter with FWC in getting that speed change done. Steve Hudson is here from FWC. We'll drag him in a minute, but I'm going to tell you that FWC, from less than 3 months when that accident happened again, they approved the speed change. And that didn't happen just because of Steve Hudson and FWC. It happened because of John Herbst and the guys that are the local guys that really need to make that happen. So one of the things we'd love to talk about, John, is, do you have any priorities, goals, anything special we need to be working on, helping you with this year? Just kind of a quick overview.
So thank you. So first of all, let me just thank everybody for your participation. This is a very important board for the city. We've got a variety of different boards that engage with the city commission on issues. The two that I really, really value the input from the most in terms of quality of life are parks and Marine Advisory Board. These are the ones that get to the meat of the community. We're a boating community and we're an outdoor community. And when we think about the interactions that most people have with the city, these are the areas that really impact their quality of life. And especially for folks who live on the water or recreate on the water, it makes such a difference to them. And the time and effort that you all put in, first of all, to be educated on these issues, because they're very technical, they're very complex. And passions run high, as you know. You're dealing with dock waivers and all kinds of things, and property rights, and the tug of war, the conflict between the commercial marine industry and the individual recreational boater. So there's a lot that you guys have to unpack on that. You've got to balance that all the time, and that's really, really difficult to balance all those interests and try and come up with King Solomon type solutions sometimes. And I appreciate the work that you all do. And I know sometimes it's frustrating for you guys because you do a lot of work, you put a lot of effort into it, and then the commission doesn't always listen to you. Don't worry, when I was an employee, they didn't listen to me either, so just get used to it. We toil in the dark a lot of times, but I just want you to know that I really appreciate all the work that you all do, so thank you very much. And then as Steve said, I think the most important thing we've really done, and thank you, Steve, by the way, with FWC, getting that speed change after that tragedy with the young girls was just so important. Steve reached out to me immediately, and we were able to start working on that and bring that to the commission and talk about it. And those are the kinds of things where I think we can really move fast and work together. Life safety issues, I think, are probably the most critical thing that we do. We've got some quality of life things. We've talked about the big thing we did this year, working on the pump out boats. I think is very important. My good buddy Dunk over here has been very instrumental in helping us with a lot of these things as well. The folks in Lake Selva with people out there pulling right into their dock. These are the kinds of quality of life issues, that really impact the folks that live in the district. And again, the folks that just want to use the water, people that want to get out there, that want to jet ski, want to water ski, and are trying to deal with navigating around these people that are, basically setting up an RV on the water out in front of their house. So these are the kinds of issues that make it challenging for us, and I appreciate you taking the time, looking into them, and bringing recommendations forward to us. So thank you. Let's keep it up.
Talk about the elephant in the room, which really has nothing to do with the marine board gallery. See how we've talked about it before. I guess.
Yeah, sure. So gallery is an interesting one. So you may all have seen the article in the paper. So when they came forward, first of all, I was very disappointed with how they came forward because they never reached out to me as a district commissioner, which is unusual for a developer, especially a very experienced developer. Mr. Galbert has done a lot of projects down in Miami. He knows how this works. He's been very successful down there, so I was very surprised that he wasn't a little more proactive in reaching out and talking with me. I found out about it through the Sun Sentinel, which is never a good way to learn about a project of that magnitude and that scope. Since then, we've tried to arrange a meeting or two between him and the lobbyist that represents him. We haven't been able to coordinate schedules. But candidly, I don't think he really is that interested. And what he's been trying to do, and you saw the outcome of that, is really move forward with this live local concept. And if he does that, which he appears to be doing right now, he really does not need to engage with the city at all to do this. He doesn't need our permission for much of anything. It short circuits. The city commission has no authority whatsoever to interfere with the process. It's all done administratively at the staff level. There could be some things related to traffic on Sunrise that might slow it down. I think FDOT would have something to say about that. But other than that, there's really not a whole lot that the city is going to do. Now, let me say that there's a huge caveat behind all that. This is a very expensive piece of dirt. And what he's proposing to do with 9 towers and 3,000 units, frankly, doesn't work financially. And I already know he's reaching out to folks that do affordable and workforce housing, and they've told him this doesn't work financially. This is not the type of housing he builds. And so I've been saying all along that I believe that this is a negotiating tactic. Don't take this politically in any way, shape, or form, but he's using the Trump part of the deal approach, where you come and ask for something outrageous, and then you negotiate your way back from outrageous to something that's still over the top, but sounds better than outrageous. Okay, and it's a very effective negotiating tactic. I believe that's what he's doing. The fact that he knows he can build workforce housing, and he's looking out for development partners that know how to do that. And what they're telling him is that workforce housing only works at about 8 to 10 stories. When you start going vertical, it gets very expensive. You go 30 stories, it's very expensive. You can't make that work financially and do workforce housing. So I genuinely believe that he has no interest in doing 9 stories of workforce housing at 40%. So I think what he's probably going to do is come back and maybe do 1 or 2 buildings with that component to it, and then he's going to want to do market rate for everything else. Because let's face it, Sunrise Intercoastal has houses that are going up that are $50 million. Why would you put workforce housing next to one of the most expensive neighborhoods in all of Fort Lauderdale? I mean, that's just ludicrous from a development perspective. That's not the highest and best use of that property. So I genuinely don't believe that that is what is going to be the final iteration of that plan. He's going to move forward with it and get his entitlements, and then he's going to come back with a new site plan that says, okay, now that I've scared the hell out of you, we're not going to do that. What we really want to do is 2,000 units of luxury housing. How about that? Which is what the neighborhood rejected 4 years ago, because they said that was too much. So what they rejected 4 years ago, they're now going to come back and say, oh yeah, we'll take it. That's how I think it's going to go.
I agree. We've crossed paths many times over the years. So Russ Galvin had a company called Crescent Heights. He was one of the preeminent condo developers over the years, both up in the Northeast and down here.
Right.
As John said, well known, well respected. I do the same thing if I was developing a project. Shoot for the moon, for the sun, and settle for the moon.
100% right. I mean, it's a great tactic, you know. And as a developer, he's been successful. He's delivered really good projects down in the Miami area. I know some of the folks from Sunrise Intracoastal have gone down there and looked at the projects he's done, and candidly, they've come away very impressed. So they think he's a good developer. It really is going to come down to whether or not he wants to be a partner with the community and the city. You know, we've got some developers who come in who do project after project after project because they want to be embedded in the community. And we have some that just want to come in, do one, make their money and get out. We'll see what he wants to be long term. You know, if he wants to be a true long term investor, like we have Mr. Hudson down over there and his partner Charlie Ladd. These are people that do project after project that are part of our community. And, you know, they're never going to do a bad project because their heart and soul and family are tied into the fabric of the community. Other people just want to run in and hit it and quit it. So we'll see.
Yep. Questions for John? Anybody?
I was just ask you 2 questions. First one, the timeline for them starting would be when if they start Galleria, and then once they start, are they able to change, or is that really the once they break ground or they get permission, it's going to be the way it is?
So we've had a couple of projects in development now for the last 2 or 3 years, right? So the boat campers property out of the beach was going to be torn down and have a hotel put up. They started that 2 or 3 years ago, and they've abandoned the plans on that. Searstown has been under development now for the better part of 4 years, and Inco is now disposing of their entire portfolio across the country. There's very little development taking place right now because the economics don't work. The interest rates are still too high. Cost of construction is still too high. We've got a lot of projects that have been approved that are not moving forward. So what I think he's going to do, again, is come in, get his entitlements, and then I don't think anything is going to happen for quite a while. I would say this is a minimum 5 years out before anything happens.
And my follow-up question is the other properties around town that also have workforce housing. I believe isn't there one on Las Olas that's going up?
So we've got a couple of Live Local projects going up right now. So we got a Live Local project that's going up down across from Broward General on 17th Street, Andrews Avenue. The old was it Ferguson's Plumbing Supply,
Right.
I believe is a project down there. There's another one going up on Federal right as you come around Sunrise around the bend. It was the old Art Institute's dorm, the hotel over there, that thing over there. So there was fire over there. They've torn that down. That one's going to be a workforce project as well. And each one of these is going to be roughly in that like 8 to 10 story mid-rise range because that's where the numbers were. So we've got a couple of Live Local projects. Mostly the projects that are being done Live Local are being done because they get done faster. They're not necessarily trying to circumvent a lot of these other neighborhood input restrictions and things like that. They're not going for anything that's unrealistic. Again, these are compatible with the neighborhoods. they're doing it because the development process, by circumventing city commission and some of these other, regulatory hurdles, can cut a year, 8 months to a year out of the process. And in development, time is money. And so that's really what they're trying to do, is fast track the development process more than anything else. And it cuts out neighborhood opposition.
The Live Local program is not to affordable housing the way you think.
Right. It's workforce.
Right. And this is important because John mentioned San Paulo, et cetera, because the idea is we have city employees, we have cops, we have teachers, we have people that are making decent livings,
Right.
but can't afford to live over in Coral Ridge. So the idea is to provide quality housing for the folks that work here can also live here. So it is
Just as an aside, so when we talk about workforce housing, it's 120% of area median income. In round numbers, I believe the area median income right now, last time I looked, was like $78,000. So 120% of that is $93,500. So literally, you're making almost $95,000 a year. You qualify for workforce housing, and that rental can be, I think, like $2,600 a month. Now, for comparison, right? I live up on Federal and Commercial in an older 1965 era condominium. You can rent a 1-bedroom in there for $1,600 a month. So it's cheaper than workforce housing downtown. So for anybody that's looking for less expensive housing, I'm like, come up to District 1 because it's a lot cheaper to live in Mayberry Mansions than it is to live downtown.
good point.
I recommend it highly.
Anybody else before we let Vice Mayor go? So, first of all, I have some wonderful slides to show from last year, but I left my.
I didn't do it. It wasn't
No,
me.
you didn't. Well,
I swear to God.
I don't have the evidence now because I left my.
Artificial intelligence and fake news.
That's fascinating. So we can't let John go without a little something for him here. So we have a little Christmas gift for John. For Vice Mayor Herbst. Now, nothing special. So say to John, so first of all, he's been killing it. He's been working hard. And he said, so we got him a mug that said, I never asked to be the world's best boss, but here I am absolutely crushing it. So I said to John,
I'm pretty sure my 2 assistants did not have a vote on that one.
and one of those assistants, I said to her, so John is he volunteers. I mean, you ask him to be here. It's not, can I? It's what time do I show up? So this time of year, I said, John, how do you have time to do this? He says, I do it for the hose. So if I'm not in a lot of trouble already,
Can't wait to show
and of course you can't go without a jar of M&Ms.
I love that.
Still eating the M&Ms from last year.
That's amazing. For sure. I'm totally
Thank you so much.
If it's not, it's coming.
Thank you all very much. I appreciate it. So, by the way, the Santa Crawl will be coming up. More of the ho-ho-hos. If anybody hasn't done Santa Crawl, by the way, it's a lot of fun.
It's really cool. So, Hal, I'm not sure if anybody knew this happens to be our city manager
Hey,
here,
all right.
who happened to just sneak in.
And I think she's got 8 events she's got to go to.
So she told me 3, but it means a great deal. Just say hello, and that's what she's doing. So. That's pretty good for a.
Thank you. To pay off. That's
There
pretty
you
cool.
go. Good night, everybody. Nice seeing y'all.
I'm not going to be on the spot. So thank you. Thank you. Thank you for stopping.
All right.
So we have the point of this, whether it's John or Raquel, what we've done has gotten noticed. And we've been killing it. So thank you everybody for that. And I'm going to come back to this in a few minutes. Let's start with, I'm not even sure where I am. Let's start with, you know what? You got to get going, Steve. Why don't you come up for a moment? Because Steve has to get out of here by 6:30, and I'm really good and sensitive. So let me introduce, if I can. This is Steve Hudson, good-looking guy. He happens to be a local boy. So Mr. Hudson happens to be vice chairman of FWC, of the board. Now, FWC. So FWC obviously has been really a big supporter of ours recently. And one of the reasons that they put the time in, etc., and nobody's going to tell me otherwise, is because this guy lives here. So the Bill Holcomb, Major Holcomb, our local guy, Jeff Hart, who you'll meet next month, Captain Jeff Hart, they rallied the troops. And this is the guy that led us into this. And as I mentioned before, through less than 3 months to pass an ordinance, when I was originally told that it would be easier to slow the speed down to I-95. So, and the other thing is we got this morning, my grandson was supposed to be modeling. FWC is sending us boxes of these. Dr. Gassman is concerned they shrink in the washer, obviously. This is a child. We have adults and child, etc. And the idea with this is that we'll have kiosks. And I mentioned this before, at the beach, over Cooley's Landing, whatever. You show up, you got a kid that doesn't have a life jacket. You don't say, the hell with it. We'll be okay. Here's the life jacket. You put it on. We expect you to return it, and if you don't, we provide you free advertising to FWC. And their position is, if you want it that bad, we keep it. So we're going to continue to promote their name. And with that, I toss it to you to say hello.
Hello. No, just real quick. Thank you to this board for all you guys do. And just as the Vice Chair said, this is an integral board. We are, I don't know my stat, how many miles of waterways, and it makes up such a big part of why we live here. DDA, their new tagline is fueled by water. It is who we are. On this initiative, I know a lot of people that live in that area, and they've been barking in my ear for a while. And it's very sad. It's unfortunate that it took the death of a 14-year-old to really push us over the edge. We were compiling all the data with the help of the Lauderdale Police Department, Marine Unit, and BSO unit as well, and our own law enforcement. So, put all of that together, speeding, accidents, property damage really doesn't make a play into this. So this was already on the path. Like I said, it was unfortunate that was what put it over the edge. But we went out in, what was that, August? I think it was, or September. Marine Industry Association, Marine Industry Association of South Florida wrote a supportive letter. The BSO, the Marine Unit for Lauderdale, this board, and that was a very well attended day on the water. Just to take a look, everybody knows what it is. We had some representatives from Tallahassee in the FWC offices, so I was very pleased to get it on the agenda. It was pushed through there was, and it's tough. Tough decision is you have a gentleman out there that rents jet skis, and while I believe he is a good operator and he does what he's supposed to, the operator of the other did not. But affecting somebody's livelihood, we don't take lightly. And he was the one that did protest it, understandably, but the evidence was there to create the slow speed zone. So.
But we're sensitive to that as well. We're not trying to put anything in business, but there's certain areas. I happen to live. I'm renting a house up on 16th now, and watching the jet skis buzz by with the boats with 4 or 5 foot lakes. It's just another accident waiting to happen. So we're not trying to put them out of business. Just trying to. Unfortunately, if you slow them down to the slow speed zone, you're going to be out of business. But hopefully, we can find a place.
Jet skis aren't so much fun if you're going slow.
No, I know.
Anyway, you guys have a huge agenda. I get it.
Steve has to get out of here. We're going to give him an
I
official.
do want to see this, though.
Uh-oh.
This right here, that does not mean return your child. Just your life jacket. Thank you very much. Hey, happy holidays, y'all. Thank you.
Okay, so next, these are great friends, guys, and there's not enough they can do for us, so we're going to continue working that relationship. We have, finally, we'll get to waterway crime and boating safety if I can. I'm going to start with Ed Eason, if you would, Ed. Ed, please tell us you have a boat.
Not yet.
Okay.
Still down for repair.
So, just out of curiosity, last month it was down for repairs, right? So, what kind of repairs does it need?
There's a chamber. There's air chambers around the boat. One of them has been damaged and popped. Kind of costly to repair. So they're kind of taking the time for that.
I'm so sorry that Raquel left because we would have wanted to understand that. It doesn't make sense. So I'm clearly talking out of place, but go ahead, please.
Okay. Wanted to bring up one. 1110 Southwest 14th Terrace. As you can tell here, the seawall is in disrepair, broke. There was a large tree that fell into the waterway, and I had cited them to remove the tree. And when they did, I was able to view the seawall, and it's totally broken in the middle there. Actually, the next one will post it up.
I'm so glad.
As you can tell, we cited them. We're giving them 60 days to obtain a permit for repair.
Did somebody call you to this, or you just happened to pick this
So the
up?
original call was a fallen tree came in from Marco, and I went out today and they had removed the tree from the waterway. And then I saw the seawall and cited them for that.
Where's this
Five
located?
one, Cited the
What's the location again?
It's in the 1110 South.
On the North Fork.
I'm sorry.
Thanks.
11. No,
Do you need a permit to take a tree down or to take it away?
it fell.
Because do we know it's not floating?
Yes, the tree's not floating.
Okay. Thanks.
That was 908 Southwest 4th Street.
Thank you.
Okay, and the next one. On dock and disrepair, 1110 Southwest 14th Terrace. I've been working with the homeowner. She opted to have it all removed. She obtained a permit, for the cost. She for her removed the pilings and the dock. I don't have a picture of it removed, but it is removed. I went out there today. I wasn't able to get onto the property, but it is all removed. And then eventually she may put up a new one.
So same thing. Were you called to this? Somebody complained?
Yes.
Okay.
Me again.
Okay. Thank you.
You have to block the whole.
Thank you very much. Chad, where are you? Chad fell asleep back there. Chad Robertson, guys.
How y'all doing? This month we had 6 fireboat calls. Last night actually we had one at 1 o'clock in the morning in Pompano. Gentleman said he was having a cardiac event on their personal fishing boat. Once we got out there about 1:30, we realized that their CTO membership had expired. And the $800 for them to get towed in gave him chest pains. So, he thought we were going to just give him the tow in and then he was going to be good. But
We need a new boat.
what's that?
He needs a new boat.
Yeah, no, he didn't want this boat.
Oh.
So he actually ended up going in with us to get evaluated by Pompano. And the Coast Guard brought him in. He did have chest pain when we found out. He had chest pain before we left. Then we also had about 2 weeks ago, we had the boat that missed the inlet that ended up on the beach. And when our ground crews got there, he thought his boat was still sinking and he was about 10 feet out of the water on land.
Oh wow.
Highly intoxicated. PD and FWC dealt with that. And then we also had somebody up the New River that is known with mental issues. He sucks cans of nitrous and then he goes out in the water and says he wants to be Baker acted and then refuses to get out of the water. PD has run several times with him as well as us. And then we had 3 missing divers that were all found to be safe. 6 calls, which isn't a bad for the month for us.
It seems that way. How about you, Travis? What's up with you?
It was a good month for us as far as crime goes. We did have one burglary at 1517 Southeast 15th Street, where a gentleman was out of town on business and his Garmin was taken from his boat. we're able to pull prints from that for analysis, and hopefully they'll match with the bad guy, and the detectives can make an arrest on that. Also, on last day of the boat show, we were on our way in from the and call came out from the road guys of a guy in the Tarpon River. They were trying to talk him in to come in. He was refusing to come in. He was on drugs. They called for us, and it was past the bridge, so our boats can't fit underneath that bridge. So we went and got our connector boat. And if you know what a connector boat is, it's made by a company called Rescue One. It's basically a big John boat. It's very, very wide, and it has this apparatus on the front that you can lower into the water. It's like a step. And then if you have somebody in the water, you can get them on a step. They have those big poles that go into it, and you can pull them and flop them on the deck like a tuna. So this gentleman
Was filleted.
he did not. Yeah, he did not want to come in. Was not listening. He thought he was on Mars or something. Eventually, I made some sort of connection with him myself, and he wanted to shake my hand. So when he shook my hand, then I wrapped his arm up and drug him into the boat. Got him in custody, and then I think he kind of had a little bit of sobriety and complied after that. And we were able to get him and hand him off to the land guys and take him to get treatment at the hospital. And the reason I tell you that is because when initially I was asking the department for a shallow water boat, I thought that boat really fit our needs, and I had to go through a lot to get it, but it really paid off in that moment. It would have been almost impossible to get him into he was on cooperative, to get him into one of our regular boats. You had to have probably the fire dive guys go in and grab him, and then we'd have to pull him in that way. But with that boat, it wasn't easy, but it made it possible for two of us inside the boat to grab hold of him and get him. Now, if someone's cooperative, it's even easier. And if they're not ambulatory or they're unconscious, then we can get them in that system and we can get them onto the boat, which is why I really pushed for us to get that. It really came in clutch for us.
So this is a new skinny water boat that you got recently, right?
We've had about a year now.
The idea was also that you could get under low bridges and so on.
Yeah, it only drafts 8 inches. It has all our light tower and all that all folds, so there's not a bridge we can't get under, and not most water we can get into.
Talk about the Winterfest, the water preparations. I'm
full steam ahead with that. So as of right now, I have units from police departments from 6 other cities besides us helping out with it, and I also have the Florida State Guard is helping out, and they're actually giving us 2 boats, 2 of their patrol boats to help out, and they have a medical boat that's staffed by EMT and a doctor. They're going to get that boat for it, so that's really a good help for us in the Winterfest because we don't have to pay them anything; they're volunteers. All the other cops I got to pay them. But yeah, I'm full steam ahead with that, and it's the 13th.
Yep.
It's starting to happen early this year, and I'm still not all the way there, but I'm getting there. So by then I will be. Captain's meeting is next Tuesday, this coming Tuesday, at the EMR. So it'll be fun when it's over.
Yeah, very exciting. It's, as I mentioned, we have some brochures there. What's featured this year in Winterfest, as we talked about. Barry mentioned last month they cut it at 100 boats this year just to kind of keep folks interested, etc. But it's clearly one of the most dynamic things that goes on here. And the funny part about it is we talked about it. Barry made sure come Monday, right after the boat show, the Winterfest boat parade, they're starting to appear for the next year. So it's a tremendous effort on this front.
Between us and BSO and everybody, you won't see more law enforcement on the water. What do you do with that? There's so many law enforcement. We about 20 law enforcement out there. 25.
We change anything with our noise ordinance in order to allow them to blast music greater than 25 feet?
They have a permit, so they can during the boat parade. Yes.
What about currently the boats that are riding up and down, blasting music, and especially the water taxis doing it? There's a bunch of charters that are doing it. I had some videos that I passed around.
Yeah.
I don't know if you got to see them, but is there any enforcement going on? Because
There is. A lot of it is just asking people to turn it down. I mean, we're not trying to ruin anybody's good time.
Right.
So most people, if we stop them, we ask them. I haven't heard of any of my guys tell me nobody hasn't complied with it. Also, we try to do a common sense approach to it because 25 feet is not super far off your boat. But obviously,
Front
it's
to the
too
back.
loud. It's not too loud. Water and sound carries of water much easier than land. But if it's too loud, it's too loud. If someone makes a complaint, especially, then we're gonna approach that person.
and notice it mostly at night. I mean, I live on the
Yeah.
and I just wonder why there's no announcements on Channel 16, why there's no sign somewhere by the bridges letting them know. I don't think anyone knows about this rule. Is what I'm taking from
Yeah.
being a boater.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think they're gonna put a sign up, and they're not gonna announce on 16. But I know that our department has done some social media posts about it. I did an infamous video where I got roasted pretty good, but yeah, there's a lot of that. But you know, it's a lot of word of mouth, and we do a lot of
notice
stuff.
the mariners or the licensed captains maybe see it.
Yeah, you can't do really. I don't notice the manager for something like a municipal ordinance. I don't think we're doing that.
But I just because when I have reached out, I mean, I'm on the 15th floor and I hear it through my hurricane glass windows. So it's kind of they're blowing it pretty loud.
Yeah, and the charters will do that, you know. But it's one of those things, just like the car on the street.
We have an ordinance for that too. But that's not the
Well, just state law for that. But
Yeah.
we have to hear that and to enforce it. You know, so someone calls it in, and we head over there, and
What if it's
music's
recorded?
loud,
What if it's recorded and sent to you?
it has to be a person.
Do you have people out at night?
It depends. We
Skip the 13th of December.
yeah, right. Well, yeah, don't have people schedule out at night. It's an opening for overtime, but it's a volunteer basis. So it's not every single night because we have a grant that pays for overtime. So it's not a grant; it's for as the officers are available to do it after hours.
Would it be reasonable to believe that this ordinance is useless?
No,
Serving.
no. Well, before
It's
we
not
had
getting
before we had
enforced.
nothing.
Right.
And if I were to
I don't know if
say,
anything's
"Hey, man,
changed.
turn the music off," and he said, you know, take a hike,
Then you
I'd have
count
to
his
take a
life
hike.
jackets. I know.
I'd have to take a hike. Now I could charge my ride it a notice to appear for it. Also, one other quick thing: all of the limited anchorage charges we've done, none of those have gone to trial yet. So they've all been, there's a couple that have been arraigned, but no one's been gone to trial yet. So I don't really have a measuring stick of what the judge is going to do with that. One of the gentlemen is on probation, so they had to move his court date to a different judge because he's on probation, which he could have some enhancements there with his punishments. He's on probation, so hopefully, probably the February meeting, maybe I'd have some results of that because that's kind of how I'm gauging how this is going to kind of go is what the judge kind of does with it. Some of the people we did charge did move their boats after that, so the judges will likely dismiss or defer penalties with that. I'm not really sure.
Have penalties been published as far as what the fine is or what
It's up to
it's up to?
It's
It's not. There's no number already in the statute.
it's up to what $1,000 and $500. Yeah, it's up to $500 fine.
Total or per day?
No.
Oh, well, it's cheaper than apartments. Cheaper than marina.
Days in jail.
Yeah, or 6 days in jail. Yeah.
Room and board. Okay.
It's not. You ever been in Broward County Jail? I would think.
Anytime you want to do some travel so retrospectively, you'll see that the food ain't that great, believe me.
Are we talking about decibels here?
Yes.
Yes,
On the Board of Adjustment, maybe Bob, maybe you remember, on the Board of Adjustment, we had a jet ski problem some years ago. And we asked the city commission to address that. And do you remember what the results of that was?
I do not recall that incident from the Board of Adjustment.
No? Okay. Yeah, well, we asked the city commission to address that.
Did that for 25 years, so.
Yeah, I know. But, I know, yeah. But we asked the city commission to address the jet ski issue, and I think it was Don Zimmer that asked that we send a letter to the jet ski manufacturer and ask them to muffle the jet ski maybe we could do the same as far as the music on these boats, because I watched the same video that was sent out, and that music was kind of strange, unusual. Okay. And that same thing is happening on our streets.
Yes, the ordinance says plainly audible at 25 feet. So if they cut the decibels out, because that would mean I'd have to put a decibel reader on the boat and be trained in it, and the decibel reader would have to be calibrated and all of those things.
We get into all of the ambient noises.
And all I can say is if you hear it and it sounds loud to you, then I would say call non-emergency. And then they will call for a marine unit, and if there's somebody working that night, then they will go out and they will respond and they'll address it.
Okay. Any questions for any of the three judges, please? Anyone? Thank you all.
Anything you need from us in order to try to make some of these enforcements maybe happen easier,
Listen,
better?
if I got more boats and more guys, I could enforce a lot more stuff.
One other. How are we coming along with the Norfolk River Patrol?
So I tried to get up there myself, and I can't get very far up in there as it currently sits right now because there's some work being done up there, and it makes it impossible to pass right now.
I learned just today that there is a dock that could be used in the Delaware Park.
Okay.
That can be used for access into that waterway.
Okay. I'll check it out.
That dock is a kayak.
Can't hear you.
The kayak dock.
Yes, I actually spoke with her today. Yeah.
Okay. Good. Next. Okay. That brings us to Dr. Gaston. Would you like to sit? Would you like to stand? Whatever's best.
Howard, do I need to come to you?
I'm ready for you.
Okay, I'll come on over and sit next to my best friend Steve.
Thank you. So Dr. Gassman offered to come back after the November meeting with some follow-up issues. Honestly, I told her it wasn't necessary, but this is who she is. So again, we've mentioned before, he asked Nancy to be there, give you a hand, she's here. So she's here to address some issues that came up, and you have the floor.
All right. So the topic that came up last time was what is going on in the North Fork of the New River. And so I've prepared a set of historical data so that you can have a better understanding of what's happened in the waterway quality in the North Fork over a rather long period of time. Before 1988, historically there were over 100 different wastewater treatment plants that were discharging treated sewage, treated wastewater, or treated effluent into a variety of waterways. The largest of which was Fort Lauderdale's Plant A, which was discharging about 5 million gallons of treated effluent into the North Fork. Yes.
Can you explain what treated is? I mean, is it clear like a cruise ship would have normal drinking water almost that comes out after their process?
That is, you're not going to drink.
Right. Okay. So what does that mean?
Treated wastewater, in this case, is that the solids are removed and then disinfection is applied.
So chemicals are added to it. So chlorination or
chlorinated to disinfect, and the solids are removed.
Not macerated, just removed.
Removed.
Okay.
Removed. So in 1983, the discharges from Plant A were stopped into the North Fork, and then after 1988, the other discharges that could have influenced the New River that may have been coming up from the South Fork of the river were also stopped. So by 1988, there were no longer any of these types of discharges. It's one of the reasons that we have the GTL Lohmeyer plant. All of those different package plants were consolidated into a regional discharge through GTL. But one of the critical aspects is that, as the gentleman has pointed out, these were not macerated solids. These solids were removed, and therefore no sludge was coming into the waterway. It was treated effluent.
Bacterial negative.
Bacterial negative. So we're going to go back all the way to 1973 through 1997. This is Broward County water quality data. a lot of which was generated initially because there was monitoring related to the discharge from these wastewater treatment plants, and then looking at the recovery of the waterways from that. So when you look at the North Fork monitoring sites, the blue star up there is right across from the swap shop. That is a fresh water site. That is on the west side of the South Florida Water Management District's salinity control structure. Then we've got Sistrunk Boulevard. That is site 64 of Broward County's quarterly estuarine monitoring site. So this is tidally influenced, so it's partially saltwater, partially freshwater. Then you've got Sweeting Park, which is the city of Fort Lauderdale's current weekly bacterial monitoring location. And then we've got Site 16, which is Broward in the North Fork. And I'll also be talking about Site 15, which is Andrews Avenue and the New River. Anybody have any questions about that before I move on? All right. Commit this to memory. I'll keep referring.
Is there going to be a test?
There will be a test. So when you look at Broward
1764.
County's quarterly monitoring data from 1973 to 1997, that straddles the time of the wastewater discharges. And this is specifically at the North Fork at Broward Boulevard, so it's a very close site to Sweeting Park. When we look at total nitrogen at Site 16, that red line represents the time at which the wastewater treatment plant stopped discharging. And so what we see is prior to that, there were very high nutrient levels that were tested for in the North Fork at Broward Boulevard. But once we stopped, and when I say we, I mean the general we, once there were no longer these wastewater discharges of the treated effluent into the river, nitrogen fell below the standard for these types of waters. So that stopping of the wastewater treatment plant discharges created an instant improvement in waterway quality. When you look at dissolved oxygen and you look at total phosphorus, dissolved oxygen, you always want to be above the standard. And so you see that after those discharges stopped, that the dissolved oxygen just downstream from the wastewater treatment plant improved and met the standard consistently. And for phosphorus, we saw a dramatic dropping of the total phosphorus, but it did not meet the standard after those discharges were stopped. So now we're going to go downtown after the confluence of the North Fork and the South Fork, same time period, same type of graphs. Because it's further downstream and you've got the water coming from both the South Fork and you've got a greater tidal flow, the changes are not as dramatic, but the patterns, generally speaking, are still there. There's a general improvement in dissolved oxygen. There's a general drop in total nitrogen, and total phosphorus, again, generally drops, but still does not meet the standard. So when I previously said that the water quality improved dramatically after these wastewater treatment plant discharges stopped, this is the data to which I'm referring.
Something happened in '87.
Something happened in '87 at that site. Do I know what that is? I do.
Okay.
So when we're looking at fecal coliform bacteria, the modern bacteria that we test for in estuarine or salinity, higher salinity water is enterococci. But back then, what we were consistently testing for was E. coli, which is a much more common bacteria to test for in fresher water and when you're trying to look for human sewage. So what these pie charts are trying to tell us is that the red means we're not meeting the standard. So the first graphic is 1973 to 1983. That's the graphic while we were making discharges into the North Fork. The next graphic is after those discharges stopped. And the thing that you should notice most
It got worse.
is that it got worse. and that when you continue over time through 1997, it continued to get worse. And the reason for that is that as we were discharging this treated effluent high in chlorination, that it was actually killing off
Disinfecting the water.
bacteria. It was disinfecting the waterway. That's exactly right. It was disinfecting the waterway, which means that there was a bacterial source in the waterway that was separate from any wastewater discharges. And that after the wastewater treatment plant stopped those discharges and stopped disinfecting the water, that we actually saw less compliance with the bacterial standard over time. And the last bullet there says potential sources of this phantom bacteria include stormwater, septic tanks, liveaboards, homeless populations, and wildlife, or regeneration. These are the same things that we are continuing to try to track down all of these years later.
Did they ever test upstream from the sewage dumping? Okay.
So, oops. It's not letting me back up, Howard. It's advancing and I'm telling it to go backwards.
Try up arrow.
It's advancing when I'm telling it to go backwards. Okay, so this is Andrews Avenue. So this is further downstream, and you see a similar trend, but it's not as significant. And as I've mentioned, when you're in the downtown area, you have influences coming from the South Fork because you're beyond the confluence of the river, and you also have a greater tidal flow. So one of the things that we've, when I was at Broward County and we were trying to figure out how to resolve the issue of bacteria in the North Fork, one of the things that we said, well, if there was more flow, then the hope would be that there's less stagnant water and it would improve the process of keeping water flowing and impacting nutrients and fecal coliform. And after running this operational flow study, what we determined was that nitrogen stopped meeting the standard when we brought more water in. Phosphorus went down and got closer to meeting the standard, but there was absolutely no change in the fecal coliform bacteria at the site. So more water reduced the phosphorus, but it increased the nitrogen, and it didn't help with the bacteria problem at all.
It actually be more bacteria because it's more dilute. By definition, if you add more water to one side and the number stays the same, then you actually have more than you start off with.
So we're going to jump to the modern era, 2006 to 2024, to look at these same parameters. This is similar to what I had showed you at the last meeting, primarily in the New River and through the South Fork. Same sort of process. Good is good, poor is poor, and those red lines represent the standards. And so as you look over that 2006 to 2024 timeframe, phosphorus continues to be the challenge, specifically in this particular graphic at Broward Boulevard and the North Fork. When we look at the other two, the previous example was showing you those same parameters that we had looked at during the wastewater discharge era. This is added in chlorophyll and turbidity. And again, what you see is that all of those are coming in as rated as good. They're meeting the standard, but again, phosphorus continues to be problematic. If we look at site 64, which is the North Fork at Sistrunk, someone had asked me, what about looking upstream from above where the wastewater treatment plants were flowing? Same pattern with the exception of chlorophyll. We're seeing a higher rate of algae in the water. And
But that's after you close the plant.
this is well
so
after
that, so that those don't work anymore. Use.
well after the plant.
Yeah.
If we go all the way upstream to site 17, which again is a fresh water site above the salinity control structure, because one of the things that we keep talking about is we are receiving discharges from the west. What you see here is that, again, most of the water quality that is coming to us from the west is ranked as reasonable water quality, with the exception of phosphorus.
Sure, retain fertilizer. Like
You know,
What? Isn't the fertilizer nitrogen, not phosphorus?
it's both.
it's both.
Whenever you buy fertilizer, there's usually three numbers. One of those numbers is nitrogen, one of them is phosphorus.
You get nitrogen dioxide as it mixes with the fresh water.
So if we come all the way into the modern era, 2018, 2022 to 2025, the graphic on the left is Broward County's quarterly monitoring site, and they're showing that their monitoring site, which is at Sistrunk in the North Fork, is only meeting the standard 4.5% of the time. When we look at Sweeting Park, which is slightly further downstream, we hit a high of compliance of 19% for that bacteria in 2023, but currently for this particular year through October of 2025, it's only 5%. So one of the things that has been talked a lot about is molecular source testing. And this is something that Broward County has been doing since 2017. This is a compilation of their data and an analysis that was done by a Miami waterkeeper. The middle portion of this graphic, they did not have dog data available, but you can see that the dog data is there before and after that time frame. The EPA standard, I wouldn't say standard, I would say threshold, is in the 525 gene copies for what they consider safe swimming. And what you can see here is that the number of human markers for this time period is that the human markers are actually below that threshold standard. So technically, using that threshold, this area would be safe to swim. But that's different than the data that you're seeing when you look at total bacteria. So the molecular source testing is telling you it's not human, or there's not so much human bacteria that it's not safe to swim. But the regular simplified testing for enterococci that we use for our weekly sampling can't distinguish where that bacteria is coming from. And so when you look at the dog marker there, it's a magnitude greater than what the human markers are. And when you look at, and again, this is Miami Waterkeeper's analysis of Broward County's molecular source testing. When you look at the EPA swimming threshold and you look at all the data over the course of what they've collected, you're seeing that the majority of the time, the Sweeting Park water quality samples are meeting that EPA threshold using this particular type of test. So one of the questions that regularly gets asked is, what is the city of Fort Lauderdale doing about this? Well, it's challenging when you look at the data, because the everyday testing is telling us there's a problem, and the molecular source testing is telling us maybe there's not a problem in terms of swimming or water quality. But we have inspected the entire watershed basin for pollution sources, literally boots on the ground, walking every location throughout this basin to look for potential sources. We have smoke tested a number of the basins, looking at the gravity sewer mains, and what that means is they force smoke into the wastewater gravity system, and anywhere smoke comes out of the ground, they look for a broken pipe, a missing clean out, things along those lines, and then repair those things. So we've done that in portions of the North Fork. We have closed one of the stormwater outfalls that is just upstream of Sweeting Park. We've regularly are cleaning the existing stormwater structures, including two very large water quality structures. The picture to the right gives you a sense of how large these water quality structures are, and they capture debris and sediment before they get to the North Fork of the New River. And we're following our National Pollution Discharge Elimination System monitoring and reporting requirements. Current and future actions. Martha's been working with our folks in parks to try to fence off one of the city properties that is on the North Fork that has been used as a homeless squatting area or camping area. So we're still working through that issue to try to eliminate one of the locations where there are homeless on the North Fork. We've been working with FDOT to look at homeless encampments under I-95. We are contracting for our own molecular source tracking that we can continue to try to look at not just dog and human, but also avian sources up in the North Fork. And then again, NPDS monitoring and reporting continues. And with that, I will conclude.
So, any questions?
Yes.
You anything?
What he's passing out right now, Mr. Chairman and board members, is an article that was published by a Fort Lauderdale Metro newspaper. And in that article, it said that in that Norfolk River,
Sam, I'm going to put you. Oh, what? Whoa! Santa! Come in, come in! Come in, Santa!
Down the North River. Down the North River. That would be.
and it came down the road chimney.
Thank you.
Yeah. 92, right?
I got one of that gangster breed.
You can open it, bro. So I'm sorry, this is real important. My grandson, so he heard Santa was coming, and Santa brought him a prize. If you know Fox from Zootopia, that's him. So my grandson was also going to model the FWC life jacket, but he got scared. So
He doesn't wear one when he's on your boat. That's kind of the crowd. Not the life jacket.
How did Santa get on Bitsy?
I tried it on at home.
this is the cutest part.
Cookies and milk. That's all right. What kind of cookies am I going to get this year? I like all cookies. That sounds good to me. Okay, buddy.
All right,
Get a picture
Santa.
taken with Santa. That's over here.
Here, Santa, over here, please. Come. It's nice to see you again. So, Santa, we have some gifts. So, Santa joined us last year. He was gracious enough to come. The reindeer on the roof.
They were on the roof.
Perfect. So, we have some gifts. If you'd be kind enough to announce who they are for, and we'll start with
Nancy.
That's me.
Nancy Gassman. Is there a Nancy Gassman here?
Oh, there is.
There is a Nancy
Oh,
Gassman.
Santa's.
Now, wait a second. We have to explain that.
Oh, okay.
So our friend Nancy Gassman, again, not enough words to describe her. Again, you ask once, she's here, come to a meeting, support. She came last month. Don't bother coming this month. I want to be there. So she did it. So in my book, with respect to everything she's contributed to us in the city, etc., she is the goat. Merry Christmas to the goat. We also have another one here, Santa. By the way, I owe you this, Brett. We also have another one here, Santa. Let me see. This is for I'm not sure who this is for.
I never got a hat.
Andrew Cuba. Is there Andrew Cuba here? Oh. Now, if you notice, there's a funny sweatshirt going on here. Now, I will read this because, again, Andrew won't do it justice. Our chief cook and bottle washer. There is no MAB without Andrew. He's concerned about getting old. Now, he did confide in me and say, I'm going through some issues here. It's not as easy as it used to be. So Santa got Andrew two things. We got memory mints for senior moments because, what was I talking about? And the other thing, when you reach his age, you need to be aware of, why are my nuts in the toilet? Now, it's a great read. I'm not sure if you've seen it. Ted, you got to stop. So, thank you.
I don't read it.
I'll do it.
Yeah, it's got to be it. I'm not a good photographer.
I got it. Brett, I'm not sure who that is. Can you pronounce it? Is there a Luis Villanueva here? Oh, he is here. So, again, this will be chief cook and bottle washer number 2. So, Luis stepped up big time this year. He joined Andrew. He has supported us to no end. Same thing. What can I do to support, etc.? But he has a problem because he's a senior guy now in Andrew's organization. He has to share the same bathroom. So we got a candle that says "Light when Andrew farts." So you are all set now.
Hold it up.
So now that brings us to another gentleman. Excuse me. I'm sorry for taking time. Thank you, sir. So we have another gentleman. I'm not sure. I'm not looking with his last names.
Oh, I think I know that one from the singer. Marco Aguilera.
Marco, is there a Marco here?
Yeah, all right.
Oh, Marco. So,
Yes, you did. Like, what's her name? The one singer,
Christina.
That's his wife.
So Marco came on in a position that did not exist as chief waterways officer. There was concern about the position, whether or not, again,
That's all right.
This is why we're getting it.
whether or not he was the right guy, etc. But I will tell you, when I say Marco knocked it out of the park, so we got him an official. Commemorate everything Marco did this past week.
All right. I'll wear this to the pump out boat and
So I have a matching one, by the way. You will read it. Then that brings us to this an old guy here. I can't pronounce that name. Dunkel? Bob Dunkel.
He couldn't make it tonight.
Oh,
Here we go.
so Bob Dunkel.
Just hope it's not a candle.
No, that's even better. So the single most important person on the MAB. I'm really quite serious. So Bob loves to grill. First of all, he did not come to meetings previously, but we kind of dragged him in, and he's become an integral part of this group. We wouldn't function the same way. Persona, bullshit. You are there. So, but one of the things I asked Bob, so what do you really enjoy doing? When I talk to Bob on weekends, etc., if you'd stand up, I'd be proud to put this on you. Bob is thank you. So Bob loves to grill with family. And I checked with his wife, and it turns out he has old aprons. So we got him a wonderful, if you turn around here, a wonderful barbecue apron. It says, Merry Christmas.
Oh, from Wilton Manors.
Last year, Bob was a real good sport. I don't know what I did away with this.
Get the picture, guys.
My wife's like, there's no way in hell you can do it. Yeah, I am. So Merry Christmas. And we have one last one here, and we talk about the most senior guys here. Are we? You awake yet? So Barry Flanagan. Where's the cold? So Barry Flanagan is our most senior member. He had a tough year with his leg, and he's not getting younger either. So we found a bottle of youth pills that we got for him. It was a prescription, and we got from his pharmacy. And it is a prescription. It's not easy to come upon these. It's a controlled substances, and they are called old vitamins. And they are world's best remedy for miserable old farts. Combat symptoms of fuddy-duddiness. Effective relief from grumpy bones, constant moaning, unsolicited storytelling, and sudden gray hairs. For Barry Flanagan. So thank you. That concludes our Christmas. Thank you, Santa, for joining us. It means a great deal, and hopefully we'll see you again next year. Thank you, my friend.
All right. All right.
Thank you all.
Bye, Santa.
That's the man I married. He owns that same outfit.
So this is my grandson Bo. He's saying goodbye.
See you, Bo. Bye, buddy.
He is our poster child for why we want safe boating. So he came to see Santa, not us. Right, get on that. Don't
Yeah, really.
Bye, Santa.
Ho, ho, ho!
Thank you, Santa. He did forget this for what it's worth. I reached out the week after last year and said reserve the date. I have sent him email, text, etc. Just a tad clueless. He thought it was Saturday, so he was supposed to be here when John did. Let's take a second as soon as.
He's got the whole bottle.
Let's take a second, guys. Great friends. Take a second to just, again, look forward to the holiday with family and friends. I'm honored to be a friend of all you guys. So you won't have me here next year. So best to all of you. Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Kwanzaa, and Happy New Year. Okay, thank you. All right, there's a reason we're here. Mr. Mitchell, did you have questions for us?
Yes, sir, I did.
Please go ahead.
Thank you for interrupting me.
I did a good job with that, right?
Yeah, you did an excellent job.
Let's throw them off track.
Mr. Chairman, what we passed out here it's blurred and probably a little difficult to read, but it tells you about the sludge that I made mention of in our last meeting. We have I'm hoping that we had 5 foot of sludge in the bottom of that Norfolk River. It expanded to the east from 95, 300 yards. To the west of 95, 100 yards. They said that I was told that it was it was cleaned. It was a treated waste that was dumped into that river. In this article here from the Sun Sentinel, it says that it had solids and heavy metal in there. And solids meaning feces.
No, that's not
And
what
if,
solid. That's not what solids means.
okay, tell me what that solids mean then, please.
If you've ever flushed a toilet, you know that there's more that goes down a toilet than just
Paper.
human. There's paper and there's everything else that people put down the drain. So solids is not exclusive to feces. Yeah.
So we're gonna accept that solids is not feces
It's
from
not
a wastewater
exclusive.
treatment plant. We will accept that. But 5 feet of it, was that removed from that river?
So according to the article, the city of Fort Lauderdale was required to dredge a certain portion of that up. And following this time frame, this was done in 1992, there was a program that the county took on called spot dredging in the North Fork, where they went and removed sediments and whatever else was down there from a variety of different areas throughout the North Fork, where they were spot dredging primarily near outfalls.
My concern is, do we have records that indicate that this wastewater was moved, sludge was removed from the river? Do we have any documentation that shows
You
that
could
this
certainly, you could
sludge
certainly request that from Broward County through a public records request.
Mr. Chairman,
So
if we,
whatever work would have been done would have been done through Broward County.
Mr. Chairman, if that is possible, then I would like to see that sludge was removed 100%, because that river, according to the information provided by the water testing facilities, that river has not been with suitable recreation water for an awful long time. Which leads me to believe that sludge is still in the waterway.
So I want to say two things. The first thing is that the data on the molecular source testing strongly suggests that piece of coliform is not human in nature, which was the last 5 slides of my presentation. The other thing I would like to say is that if there is a bacteria that survived since 1992, I would be shocked to understand what type of bacteria that is, because bacteria die off within hours to days time frames. They do not live forever unless they're regenerating in the soil, at which point they stop being human in nature and they become bacterial in nature. They're no longer from a human source, they're being regenerated within the environment. So they're regenerating, they are a source unto themselves. But if you're interested in finding out where the county did the additional dredging, you can put in a public records request to Broward County, and they will provide whatever data they have available to you. Broward County's public records request process is fairly easy. It can all be done online. You can ask exactly what you're looking for, and they will tell you what it will cost to get you those records. In the meantime, that's your best way to find out what work was done during that time frame. And at this point, that's a long time ago. It's hard to find those public records, but you can certainly ask the county for their records of dredging in the North Fork of the New River.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
So this is just a second, Brett. So there was a discussion recently about just in general. This is way above our pay grade. I mean, we're discussing things because the topic is being brought up, but I'm hoping, and the question was, is there a board or authority that is focused on these environmental issues?
Broward County has a dedicated group called the Environmental Monitoring Division that focuses on monitoring the environment and analyzing these issues, and then working across Broward County's organization to try to address these.
Because it doesn't appear, I mean, with respect to Sam's issue about the North Fork, there's no quick fix. I mean, work has been done, but it's a long-term picture. I'm sensitive, as is Nancy, to that. But I don't know what we're gonna get out of here.
But this has been neglected for an awful long time, Mr. Chairman. That is the point.
During my tenure at Broward County, the North Fork was the single greatest expenditure of dollars to try to do an environmental cleanup of any waterway within Broward County.
When we spend all of our time here talking about the intercoastal waterway,
This is the Marine Advisory Board. In my opinion, the North Fork of the
It's
New
not for
River
us.
is an estuarine water body. Doesn't mean it's not within your purview, but it's not your main focus, in my opinion. Mr. Dunkelwood is probably more familiar with the ordinance, but it's
What I'm
not
concerned
navigable.
about
It's
is we
not,
talk about it, Nancy comes and visits, Sam mentions something, Bob will respond, nothing gets done. And we'll pick it up next month, and this has nothing to do with anybody. I just don't know, it's a problem here, and I'm sensitive to it, and I don't see a quick fix, but what do we do to start addressing that? Is there
Well-
something we can do?
so my 30 years of experience in this field, 18 of it was spent in Broward County, and I've been here for 12. When I first started in Broward County, the North Fork of the New River was a major concern. And again, Broward County has done numerous studies. They've tried to increase the flow into the river. They've looked at a variety of things. They've been doing molecular source testing since 2017. As I mentioned during our presentation last time, every waterway in Broward County is impaired for fecal coliform bacteria. It is a signature of an urban environment. I do not believe that the North Fork, quote unquote, has been neglected. It suffers from what almost every urban waterway suffers from throughout this very densely populated county, which is fecal coliform that is coming from stormwater and a variety of other non-point sources that ends up in our waterways.
And it simply doesn't move the same way that the New River does, so you're not getting that flushing in and out.
You're not getting the tidal flushing, because it's too far up.
Dr. Gassman posed a question to me that I did not respond to. I would like to take the opportunity to respond to it now. It would be improper for me to say that these environmental concerns are outside the purview of the Marine Advisory Board. However, when you look over the past several years, it's something that you can look into. But the enforcement mechanisms really don't lie with this board. Enforcement mechanisms deal with dock permits along Port Oak Road, dock waivers, so on and so forth. We play a major role in getting the 30-day anchorage thing for Lake Selby. Those are the things that take up most of our time. It's up to the board to decide what its priorities are. And that's the way
I agree with you 100%, Bob. But my point is that unless it's put on the table, unless the commission gets a chance to see the concerns being raised by the community, it's not going to be addressed.
The other thing that I will offer is that the North Fork of the New River is not under the jurisdiction of the city of Fort Lauderdale.
I'm sorry, I'm having a difficult time hearing you.
It's not our waterway.
I know it's Broward County's waterway,
It is not
but we
Broward
can
County's-
start.
It's not Broward County's waterway.
We can start a joint effort with Broward County to start some remedying this problem that we have over here.
And I can tell you they've been working on it for at least 30 years, but it's not our waterway. It's also not Broward County's waterway. It
Not
is
to
under,
prolong this hearing, to prolong this meeting, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to move on.
Would you be kind enough to tell us whose waterway that is?
it's under the jurisdiction of the South Florida Water Management District.
Thank you,
And
Sam.
Thank you.
Marco has reached out to them and they have expressed that unless the conveyance is impacted, meaning they can't move enough water, they are not interested in dredging the river.
Go ahead.
We talked about before how when we chlorinated the water, we brought down all the counts. What's the downside of periodically chlorinating or some sort of?
It's illegal.
We can get caught. Just fish or there's other things.
It's technically illegal to pour a glass of potable water into our waterways.
It's illegal to pour glass of
Potable water.
potable water
Yeah.
in Florida.
Our
It
code
is.
says nothing except rainwater. No liquid except for rainwater.
Technically, it's illegal.
Interesting. Other questions? Yes, please. I'm sorry. Yes.
Hi there. My name is Chuck Hansen. I've been living on A1A by Los Angeles for the last 55 years. And I have this question, and I don't know if I'm in the right jurisdiction to ask it, but every time I go west on Los Angeles, just past 7 Isles, for the next 300 or 400 feet, the stench is terrible. And it's there, and it's been there, and I'm just wondering if there's an explanation.
7 Isles, west of 7 Isles.
7
Right
Isles.
on Los Angeles.
The city has a major lift station in that location,
Oh, okay, there's an explanation. Okay. Thank you.
and
This camouflage is a home, right? For
it's
structure.
camouflaged as a home. Yeah.
I will tell you, I live in that area. It stinks.
I know.
And again, please call our customer service line
Or
if
fix
you're
it.
noticing significant odors, and staff will do their best to address the concern.
Thank you. Anybody else questions for Dr. Gasser in the back?
Yeah, just a question. It's following up on what you said earlier, a short while ago. Last month at the meeting, I felt that Dr. Glassman was being interrogated, and a lot of the information that was directed was false or was inaccurate by the same individual. Shame Norton's not here, because if he was, I'd still be saying I don't feel that the purview of this board, and I would include myself, as to having the knowledge that maybe the doctor has, or even others, but it's an environmental issue that I think is part of public works. They control air pollution, other pollutions, and that is where I feel that the you get answers to. Even Sam, the information you had tonight, it's is it wrong or is it right? This board doesn't know. Nobody is saying we can't do something, but Nancy's not going to be here next month, and next she's going into another phase, and the county is one option, but I think we ought to start with public works within the city to understand some of our issues and let them carry it and explain it. So it almost got into like a Perry Mason last week. This is, it's not what staff's here for.
So, from the data that you had, did I understand that correctly? Dog waste seems to be the number one problem. Is that
For the type of molecular source tracking that they did, they looked at human and dog. So that doesn't mean there aren't other avian, reptilian. There's other opportunities.
How is so much dog poop getting in the waters? What you want to?
No. I'm just wondering if it is dog is the major issue for raising the bacteria levels. My dog goes, could we make a recommendation to put up some dog, stations?
And we do.
Okay, anyway, that was I just
And
want to know that.
as so many issues within the city, enforcement
Yeah,
enforcement is the challenge always, which is one of the reasons why stormwater is one of the challenges for bacteria, because for everyone who does the right thing and picks up after their pet, there's always somebody in the neighborhood that's not, and when it rains, that's going to go down into the stormwater system, which primarily discharges into our waterways.
DNA tests the water, and every dog can be tested with a license.
Oh, yes.
No kidding.
There are neighborhoods, very exclusive neighborhoods that have every dog tested. And then if they discover a pile, they test it and they find out who's
it in?
A lot of the neighborhood associations do this.
Mine did that.
Where my son lived before. There's usually somebody doing that.
It's very expensive, but I hope that answers your question.
So should we make a motion to ban dogs from the city of Fort Lauderdale?
No, not dogs. Dog poop.
West of.
Responsible owners. Let's ban that.
Yeah. Questions, everyone?
No, you can ask the same.
Anybody else? Public, any questions? Dr. Gassman, before I let her go? Well, thank you again. I think Barry's point was well taken. You're one of the good guys, and we don't ever want to feel as if you've been attacked, and we'll leave it at that. So thank you for coming. Thank you for explaining. And rest assured, we're to reach out no matter where you are.
Yeah, I'm always available to you. I've moved from Public Works over into Parks, and my purview has changed. So Marco and Todd Haichu, who's the new deputy director in Public Works, some of these environmental issues are now under their purview, but I always remain available to answer these questions. As you can clearly see, I have a long history in these issues, and if you have questions, I'm happy to come back and answer them, and I appreciate your time and thoughtful questions.
You happen to know Jim Brightenstein's one
I
I quote
do.
here? Is this person still around?
Not
It's a long time ago.
I do not believe he's still with us. He was the environmentalist
Yeah.
with the city of Fort Lauderdale. I do still know Steve Somerville, who's listed there. I took over Mr. Riley's job. They talked about George Riley. I was the next director of the Environmental Monitoring Division. So these are all new names.
If he's not available, he's not available.
I don't think Jim's available.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
So, hey, guys on the business side, I'm sorry to keep you waiting. Santa back there, Santa number 2. Nice to see you. I'm sorry to keep you waiting as well. But Dr. Raver, 401 Idlewild Drive. Who's kicking this off? Who do we have presenting here, please?
Hello.
Come on up, please.
Thank you.
Challenge.
Can you move this podium a little bit?
Yes, sir. Whoever you want.
Yes.
So this is 401 Idlewild Drive, guys. I suggested you all kind of spin by. Beautiful location. Lots of width, but you'll hear what the issues are. Can I have one of those, please?
I did want to start by saying this is the first Fort Lauderdale Marine Advisory Board that I've personally been to. I know Mike has been to many of them and other advisory boards throughout our county. And this was the one to come to because there's a lot of holiday spirit in this room. It was very interesting and fun between Santa coming in and gifts going out and all the neat holiday sweaters. So it's a neat way to start off my first Marine Advisory Board meeting.
Thanks.
So I'm Matt Capiello. I'm here on behalf of the dock experts. We've got a couple other team members here. We've got Andrew, Jen, Abigail.
Sorry, can you say your name for the record?
Sure, Matt Capiello with the dock experts. The dock experts, general contractor, been in business for 8 years, exclusively focusing on marine construction. Quick little story, the owner of the dock experts, name is John Petrowski. He moved to Lighthouse Point 8 years ago. Had some trouble getting a marine contractor to come up. As I'm sure we all know, it's an overwhelming industry. A lot more work than people that are willing to get involved and do it. It's very difficult. And that's how the dock experts was born. He realized that there was a need to help support the community, the environment, and the infrastructure. And we started dock experts. There's 75 employees now. So we are all focused on enhancing the waterways throughout East Florida. I am here tonight on behalf of Ms. Daly, and she has lived in Fort Lauderdale for nearly 6 decades. And at this particular property for 34 years, the dock that we are going to discuss tonight was constructed in 1992 and has reached the end of its structural lifespan. And it's time to replace the dock. She's proactively replacing the seawall as well, not just raising the cap. She's going to replace the entire seawall to protect the infrastructure of the property and the environment up to the code that is not required until well into the future. So she's decades ahead of that, doing it the right way. But in addition to doing that, she and her family want to purchase a boat and go boating. And that's what the additional dock extension is designed to do. So I did want to put a quick little story in there. This is the first time I've been in this location, but the Daly family has a long history of supporting the communities. In 2 of the big charities, United Way and the Habitat for Humanity. This started out as a business purpose for the dock experts to help get a variance.
After getting a chance to meet Ms. Daly and her family and learn a little bit more about her, just the other day we were discussing the location of this meeting. She happened to mention that the Habitat for Humanity Restore building next door almost caused a divorce for her, and I thought that was interesting, so I asked if you could tell me a little bit more. And the quick story is she is a big fundraiser for the Habitat for Humanity, has been for many years, and heard that building was going to get lost, and second mortgaged her home to purchase that building next door. Then proceeded to go home, tell her husband, and almost ended up in the divorce, which is where that story came from. She did raise the funds to pay off the second mortgage, and then donated the property to Habitat for Humanity. Just a cool little story, since geographically we were next door. The property north of her home, and we'll go into the side of this, is the city property where the street ends. Then there's a residential property to the south. Okay, their 25-foot setback on the north side has already been agreed and approved, but I've been told by the city. We do not need a waiver for the southern border. We're going to be well above the 25-foot setback. But on the north side, the current dock.
1 second. Let's explain what that's about. FDLE has some regulations that, if I remember correctly, if the property has more than 65-foot linear width on the water, there needs to be a 25-foot distance setback between your riparian rights line and the neighbor's riparian rights line. We've got more than the 25 on the south, and the city waived the requirement on the north side.
That's correct. Thank you. Thank you for clarifying that. As the dock currently sits, it's actually over, when it was built in 91, the riparian rights of the city by 3 feet, 2.9 to be exact. The new proposed scope brings that back into her property line, south of the riparian rights, by 1 foot. The variance requirement is 5, and I'll explain why we landed on 1 foot. And then the other variance we need is the extension waterward out past the normal 25-foot allowance to a 53-foot. So,
is there an easement from the property line that's required? Yeah, I can't build right up to a property in San Diego, so I have
25 feet.
That's from the water. I'm talking about.
Zoning district, 5-foot setback.
Okay, so 3 feet over, which meant it was 8 feet over.
No, it was 3 feet over the actual property.
Right, which means it should have been back 5, so it was 8 feet too long.
That's correct.
Okay.
And again, when 91, I don't know what the rules were, because there's many docks, as you'll see on one of the slides, that are at the property line or past the property line. So I think there's some different interpretations as the riparian lines have been refined over the years. It's changed a little bit, but back then it was acceptable. It hasn't caused any challenges as far as we know of any of those properties that are over it. And it's only on the ones that are up against the street. The other ones, it's not city issues. So a couple of reasons why I want to do this. Number one, no navigational impact. The intercoastal in this particular area is 750 feet wide. So the proposed encroachment outward, meaning into the intercoastal, is only 7%. That dock remains roughly 200 feet away from the west side of the intercoastal channel. So no navigational impact to the channel. And in fact, you'll see a demonstration on a couple slides over. So this is 401 is on the top. The projection of the east side of this wall actually goes westward, meaning that the extension and projection into the intercoastal on her property is less because of the fact that the natural curve of the seawall goes in. But nonetheless, there's still 200 feet to the west side of the channel, and the space that you had commented earlier on the south side is well beyond the 25-foot setback, so no waiver needed on the south side. Second reason for this, so number one, no navigational impact. Second one, intended use of the vessel. Family wants to enjoy a vessel, and the required draft is 6 to 8 feet, necessitating access to deeper water. So that is the reason for the extension waterward. This extension matches common needs along Idlewild Drive, where shallow waters require similar variances. And then obviously waterfront property ownership includes a reasonable expectation to be able to safely moor a vessel at your dock. I did look, it's not on here, but there are 25 docks on Idlewild Drive. 19 have approved variances past the 25-foot setback, and of those 19, 14 are well beyond the 53-foot that we're proposing. And that doesn't include the fact that the property line goes in westward, so it's actually a less of a projection. So 75% have already been approved, and 14 of those are beyond what we're asking for. And the last reason I want to call out is safety. Extending into deeper waters improves the vessel safety during high winds, storm surges, and wake activity from the intercoastal there. The seagrass survey was certified and approved by the FDEP, Broward County, and the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. We've made our mitigation efforts to include reducing the footprint of the dock to be sensitive to the seagrass, so we've reduced the footprint from the original plans. We've also decreased the height of the dock to reduce sunlight to come in, and we've increased the spacing of the planks to 1 inch so that there's plenty of sunlight coming through. So we've mitigated for the seagrass impact to the environment, and got approvals from all 3 other entities. So Ms. Daly respectfully requests.
Can I ask you, as you go through all those points, if we can comment, maybe ask questions about those points, Mr. Chairman, rather than starting complete over again and then go back to each one. Okay, whatever you find best.
I don't really care. Do whatever you're comfortable with.
Oh, I would say to bring that up. The docks on either side don't seem to have those added features you're talking about to let the sunlight through the dock.
That's correct.
On either side. So
I don't know all of them individually, but I imagine me walking and looking at some of them, you're correct. Most of them haven't mitigated.
Right, they haven't done any of that. So I think that's a concern. Does that cause an aesthetic difference in looking at it from everyone who rides up and down?
No.
Well, it won't look.
No, it's more small. You're talking about a little bit more spacing in the planks, a little bit higher height.
Okay.
Not abnormal. And then the footprint's maybe a little narrower than some of the other ones. That could be an aesthetic thing, but okay. So Ms. Daly respectfully requests the approval of these modest and reasonable variances that align with the neighborhood precedent to create no navigational impact and fully satisfy all the environmental requirements. You can go, sir, back a little bit. So this is a okay, so you go back. So if you go back to the survey, it's the 3rd slide. There you go. This shows the property. So here's the riparian rights on the south side. Here's the riparian rights on the north side. This is the city's riparian line because of the street right there. The dock currently sits 2.9 feet northward of the riparian rights. Been like that for 34 years. No challenges that I'm aware of. I don't think I've heard of any from anyone else. But our intention is to pull that back into the inside of her property riparian rights and outside of the city. And then you'll see these pilings. This piling is actually inside of her property line. It is not her piling. It's a double banded piling that sits well into her property line that is of the neighbors. It's never been an issue, never been complained or litigated, but it is in fact in her property line. You can go to the next slide. This kind of shows the current, again, existing aerial against reinforcing it's over. We're going to move it back. You can go to the next one. This shows the Idlewild Drive, the 25 docks. There's a few north and south here too, but just for this scope, most of these docks have been extended out to get to the deeper waters. And again, up north where 401 is, at that red dot, with the projection outward, it's still going to be more aligned with the seawall than most of the properties out there. And then just for note, if you look at 505, you got that one is inside of the 5-foot setback in the city property line. If you look at 605, that one is actually into the property, much like Ms. Daly's was prior to our new renovation. 629 is inside of the 5-foot county setback, and this one is as well. And then 801 is well past the property line. So just kind of shows the rest of the scope of that neighborhood.
Pay attention.
Okay.
Okay.
Sure. Okay. Next slide. Almost got
Does it look perpendicular to the seawall, or do they follow the line when the seawall is perfect?
It's perpendicular to the center line of the channel.
So they would go off at an angle then.
Let me answer the question.
Yeah.
Only only a circuit court judge can determine what the area is.
You haven't been there before?
No, I haven't been there. Bob Dunkel cannot, surveyors cannot. All they can do is represent the opinion of what it is. For the most part, we extend it out. Excuse me. We extend it out with the extension of the property lines into the water. The most important part is to get to the threat of the channel.
Okay. So this is the proposed scope of work. You can see this is our 53-foot line projection waterward. So we are asking for variance on that. We have plenty of room going south, allowing safe navigation to use the dock next door. Plenty of room well outside of 25. And then this is going to be pulled from outside of the riparian rights of the city and into hers, but not by the full 5 feet, projecting 1 foot inside. Yes.
Sorry if this is an ignorant question, but if you had a boat on this dock, where would you dock it?
So there's a couple of different options. It's a great question.
6 to 8 foot draft.
Depending on the draft, if it's a lighter draft boat, you could dock the boat here.
So is there a boat in practice that we're looking at?
There's a couple different ones that haven't landed on yet, but there is a sailboat.
And how long is that? What's the length of that one?
The length, I believe it's around 40 feet.
So that would need to dock where?
So that could dock either on the face here, or it could dock on this side.
Okay, what is the beam of a 40-foot sailboat?
Yeah, usually between 12 and 15 feet.
Okay, so if it's 15 feet wide, that leaves how much between that dock, or how much from the edge of the sailboat to the property line there, extended into the water? 15, 36 minus 15?
You would go, so the longest measurement is this way. This way is actually.
I'm talking from the edge of the sailboat. If you have you said a 12-foot wild sailboat,
yeah, it'd be
that
12 foot
docks
off the dock.
on the south, right?
Yeah, it'd be 12. You could be 12 foot this way, or it'd be 12 foot that way.
Okay, so they would only have like 20 feet, 24 feet between the edge of the property line on the south.
That's right.
And the edge of the sailboat. Okay.
To get a catamaran.
If that's where it was. Yeah, catamaran sailboat would be a little wider.
Yeah,
that's not the intended.
Why don't you finish your presentation and we'll toss it around.
Sure. So that is pretty much the end of what the scope of work is, just showing the lines for the north side consideration of a couple of feet of variance, and then the waterward variance.
So before I open it up to questions, do we have folks signed up to speak in objection?
They're not signed up, but they'll raise their hands.
We have folks aside that want to speak here. Do we have letters of objection or support additionally? Anything we received?
I don't have letters of support. There was some objection. A letter of objection that I distributed that came from Tyler Chappelle, and I just received it maybe yesterday and sent it out yesterday or this morning. Maybe it was this morning.
So we'll give Tyler a moment to speak in a second. Bob, would you be kind enough to? So Bob's been very involved in this. Obviously, we've heard together. Could you kind of share your thoughts on your issues with this, please?
First of all, I want to correct some of your nomenclature. You keep using the term variance. Variance has a special meaning in terms of zoning and report of adjustment. Next time you do that, refer to those things as waivers, because that's what this board is about. I've got a couple of comments here. Number one, we did a memo. The zoning administrator has embraced it, that the dock needs to be moved back 5 feet off of the extension of the property line. It cannot encroach into the side yard setback. Secondly,
Bob, that's the north?
On the north side, yes.
So instead of going from 3 feet over to 1 feet under, he has to go from 3 feet over to 5 feet back, which means that the current dock has to come back 8 feet.
That is correct. That is correct, sure. Secondly, a vessel may not be berthed in such a manner that it encroaches into the extension of side yard setbacks. There are no vessels there, but when I hear about how they might be berthed, that needs to be mentioned. Also, Bert Ford brought to my attention, you've got benches on there. They're not permitted under the code. Okay. There was a suggestion that there are a number of encroachments. I went through Broward County property appraisers records, and I could go down the entire list, but I found 14 where there were no encroachments, I found 4 where there were encroachments in the side yard setback. There were 4 more where you couldn't quite tell from the
Some of them are
photograph.
really tight.
Yeah, and back in the day, we didn't require as-built survey, so it's difficult to determine. Sometimes if there's a waiver application, we can go into that and take a look at what's happening. But at any rate, if the board is inclined to approve this, it would be my recommendation that they approve it subject to moving the northernmost finger pier 5 feet off of the property line, outside of the 5-foot side yard setback. And dimensions to be removed. That's it.
Yeah, so
For myself.
the response to moving the dock is a couple things. Number one, the dock has been there for a long time. It's not caused any challenges. Ms. Daly's used the format of the dock. We are going to move it back into her property line to make sure that it's not there, even though it hasn't caused any challenges. That was always the intention to move it back. We also don't want to have to interrupt the approach to the dock. So you got the walk up, which is already constructed, trying to minimize the impact to the land side of the construction work. That would need to be shifted to kind of maintain that format that she's enjoyed for her entire tenure at the residence. And then we also get a little concerned if we move that dock southward that there are some seagrasses that we have identified in our seagrass survey, which is why we decided to keep that there, provide as much ample space as we can for the respective neighbor to the south, and not move into the areas where there could be some seagrass there.
Let me address that. When these things come across my desk, I put a set of blindfolds on, and I look at it to see, are there any violations of the code? I would be derelict in my duty if I allowed this board to send it up to the city commission with facial violations on the application. So that's why I'm recommending that it go back to 5 feet. The fact that it has existed there for a long time, this is new construction. It's got to abide by the code that is in effect as we're doing it now. How it happened way back then, I don't know. Mistakes are made in the permitting process. We're all well aware of that.
And Bob, am I not right that if someone were to complain, that he would have to come to waiver what he currently has?
I'm not sure I fully understand your question.
We just had if someone were to have complained about that, right, that they were over there
as it exists,
they would have to come in front of us to get a waiver for that existence, correct?
If someone were to complain about the existing
Yes.
location, they would need to take it to code enforcement. It would not come to here.
It would not come here. Okay.
Only new construction is going to come here with respect to the waivers.
So it doesn't follow the same thing as all the pilings that got waived that for in Cordova, off of Cordova. It's not the same concept, is what you're saying.
Those were cited by code.
Yeah.
And they applied for the waiver in order to keep them.
That's what I'm asking. That's what I'm asking. So code would do that. They'd come out and go, hey, you're in violation. Then they would have to come here for a waiver on current condition.
That waiver is for extending out into the waterway, not encroaching inside setbacks.
City setback. Okay.
Totally separate.
Totally separate. Okay. Cool. Just want to make sure I'm not thinking of different.
What exists?
What he proposed makes that in violation.
Is a violation. If you move it back 5 feet from the north property line, so it's outside, then that would be in compliance, subject to removing the benches, which I'm told by Bert Ford is not permitted under our code. So, go ahead.
The piling on the next boat that's south of it, is it on the wrong side of the property line?
This piling is on the
This one.
Yes, that's on Miss Daly's property line and used by.
So they have a variance for Miss Daly in order to put the other people's piling on her property line?
I don't believe so. No.
If you go through the video I sent, one of the pilings is on the wrong side of the property line.
Which is not,
it's not germane.
Miss Daly hasn't litigated that, but yes, it is technically.
But now you're talking about moving a boat there, and if that's not within 5 feet of the property line, is that an issue?
The boat has to be set back 5 feet from the property line.
Yeah, it'll
be not encroach into the side yard setbacks.
Even though there's a piling currently that's within 5 feet on the wrong side of the property line.
Yes.
Yeah, we'll be well within the 5 foot, as he was calculating earlier, being about 14 feet from So we'll have 9 more feet than needed. And it was intentionally, the other reason why the dock was moved a little north to accommodate the one neighbor, there's not a neighbor on the north side, but there is on the south side, and we were trying to be respectful and move that as far north as we can, but also at the same time get the dock back within the riparian lines from the city. Just, it's been 1 foot in, not 5.
Are they going to repair the seawall, including that area that the city owns, or is that separate?
It's going to be repaired on her property line, not into the cities.
And at one point, it sounded like there was thought being given to repairing the seawall on Hibiscus.
Not that I'm aware. No.
But we're not here for that. We're
Okay,
only
Jeff,
here-
yeah. But the entire seawall is going to be replaced and brought up to code. That's not due for decades.
Right, but
just
you
to
bring
do it.
yours up and the one next to you isn't.
Well, that's happening all over the county. So somebody has to start. Early
So,
start, the better.
We have Tyler. You'd like to say something?
Yes, sure.
We have.
Okay, if I stand.
Sure, wherever you are. Hang on a second.
No, I was just
So Tyler Chappelle.
Tyler Chappelle, the Chappelle Group,
Go ahead.
714. You can leave that. Please. 714 East McNabb Road, Pompano Beach, Florida. I'm here on behalf of the Sturgis family. They reside at 407 Idlewild Drive, which is the residence to the south. This presentation is kind of exactly what we have found through our permit research and what's been going on with the application submittals with this applicant, and that the dimensions, the plans seem to change often and are not necessarily correct all the time. For instance, you can see there's 62 feet between the riparian lines, and if you add these dimensions up, you're getting 66 feet. So there's not 36 feet between the dock and the riparian line. The other issue that we have is that there's a reason there wasn't a boat shown. There's not a representation of a boat. There wasn't a presentation of a boat in the application itself. It's a 40-foot boat. I'm not sure why it needs a draft of 68 feet. It's a very deep draft boat. And they also, when they submitted their applications originally, after it was objected, they showed a boat. And the distance actually between the dock and the riparian line is 28 feet. And they showed the boat at 36 feet with a 10-foot 6-inch draft, which put the boat within 16 feet of the riparian line. So that's within the 25-foot setback. They could not get that approved by DEP. That's why they removed the boat. And they removed some of the dimensions in their application submittal drawings that were submitted to the agencies. They filed objections to those agencies. Those agencies moved forward with what was presented to them. The other issue we have is that with this configuration, there's really only one place to put a boat, which would be on this side. You could fit one in here, but this is, my understanding is 32 feet of deck space. The current configuration of the dock, as Bob mentioned, it has benches, it has a table in front. It's never been used for mooring. There hasn't been a boat here for over 20 years. We understand the applicant is preparing to put a boat here, but the original design was to put a boat here, and it was removed from the drawings because it's in the setback. What we're asking, and if you can go to the pass this around. That's the original plan with the boat shown. So this one here. Slide. So this is the survey of the property with the existing dock, the riparian lines, Sturgis' property with their docks. Go to the next one.
Wait, can I ask a question? Is there a setback?
Can I finish my presentation?
Yeah, please. Thank you.
So this is kind of just a detailed on the existing riparian lines and kind of what we just talked about as far as where the boat is, where the riparian lines are. There was originally no seagrass found. We did our own research on the seagrass. We did find seagrass. We turned that into the agency. They did a subsequent report and did then change the dock to have the deck spacing and to abide by the regulations for the seagrass. This kind of shows the location. We kind of went over the dimensions.
You got actually 16 feet here by 6 feet with a 34-foot dock. This distance that we talked about is actually 28 feet. Next slide. We took into account a 1.5 foot radius of Sir Sturgis's boat. As you can see, in order for him to get into that turning radius of the 1.5 times the width of the boat, we're going to be blocked in not being able to get into this slip and certainly not into this slip. Next slide. Going over just a couple points. We, our biggest thing is that we need 54 feet in order to get into those slips. We feel that, the position of the dock and the design itself doesn't take into account the neighbor and navigation. There's certainly other design concepts that could be developed to allow the applicant to either have a viewing platform, which is what we applied for, or having some kind of dock with a slip on that side. Keep going. So we took a look at this and we came up with a couple of concepts. We moved it down 5 feet, which is what Bob was talking about, to meet the side yard setback, which would then push it even farther down, closer to the neighbor, which would even reduce it from 16 feet to 11 feet between the riparian line and the proposed vessel. Next slide. We took into account again the radius with that dimension change on the plan, and obviously there's even more of an issue with navigation. Next slide. So we came up with these are just the same thing, LDOC with the slip 1 and 2, we couldn't get in with the 5 foot setback. We looked at it on 2 different ways. One, giving them additional slip, and one, giving them the same kind of type configuration as far as a viewing platform, if that's what the intent is of the application. This would give them the 5 foot setback with still having the T and having the J hook dock, whatever you want to call it. They would still have the ability to moor a vessel here or on the outside as they indicated, still keep the 5 foot setback and allow sufficient navigation.
Right?
I'm sorry?
That would be over the line.
Yeah.
No, they would need to moor here or here, as they indicated. Next slide. That would give us sufficient navigation into the slip with the 1.5 foot times the length of the boat. That's just summarizing what I'm saying. It gives, the other thing I didn't hear in the presentation was the extraordinary circumstances as to why there was a need for this dock. But, having wave action, wind and waves and all that, if there's no proposed vessel or vessel shown or even dimensions of that vessel, I'm not sure how you can make that extraordinary circumstance in this case. Next slide. The other alternative we gave was a finger pier, which would give more than enough, and this could be shifted north or south. We'd actually give them 2 slips on each side if they wanted, and would give more than enough adequate navigation to the south neighbor with 1.5 times. So with that, we object to this application and we request that the board deny this waive application without significant modifications.
Thank you. Questions, Mr. Chappelle? Go ahead. Brett.
Chappelle, your client's dock, isn't it too close to the line?
No, this dock here,
Yeah.
Was previously authorized by the city.
And the pilings that are sticking out northeast of it. No, there's one northeast of it.
And this one,
yeah,
we recognize is over the line, and it's my understanding that applicants willing to move that. I think what it was is that originally.
So that end of the dock is 5 feet from the property line.
I think what was the problem was the riparian lines at the time when it was permitted in the early 90s. They were using a perpendicular navigation channel, where now it's more shifted. So you have, where it was like this, and now it's like this.
Questions of Mr. Chappelle? Anybody? Yes, please.
No. Just out of curiosity, what if there's nobody to the north other than public road, and then the north dock, the person to the north, wouldn't the arm just go to the north or the other way? Yeah, just go to the other way. I mean, is there a need for it to be on the south side, or is it just I mean, I just don't understand it.
Yeah, this was the design that we went with the design that impacted the seagrass the least, that mitigated the environmental impact.
Mr. Chair, I have a question.
Please, Ted, I'm sorry.
Bob, you indicated earlier that there was some, obviously facial issues to begin with code compliance with the existing application.
Yes.
And unless there's significant modifications that include the correction of those issues, we can't forward it anyway.
So my question, it would be up to somebody to make a complaint as to those violations. And when you do that, your name is on record so that the party that you're complaining about, you know who made the complaint.
Sure. So with regard to their application, though, even their new plan requires modifications to what's presented tonight. So, Mr. Chair, can we vote on
the
something?
plan presented needs some modifications in order to fit within the 4 corners of code, yes.
So my question back to the chair is, can we vote on it as presented, anything other than negative, since we can't vote to approve, since it's not code compliant to begin with?
Well, you have the benches, obviously, they're willing to remove. The question obviously is, there's a 5-foot setback on the north side, and that, as far as I understand, is immovable. So if they're not willing to accept cutting it back by 5 feet, it's immovable.
No, we're not in the business of negotiating.
No, you are not. No, that's what I'm saying. Let me try to answer the question. One option is denied. Another option is approval, subject to the northernmost finger pier being moved outside the 5-foot setback and removal of the benches. Those are your options.
There's no option to table it and bring it back
No,
for
that's
consideration.
always an option. Yes.
If they want to modify the plan.
Yes. I mean, just discussing it seems to me that the two minds maybe come up with something that works all the way around.
Well, they can.
So,
with a motion to table, that could be objection.
Yeah. If I could raise one more
We sent them.
resolution on all this,
It's all the
I
same.
don't want to get into a tit for tat. I've been a boater my entire life. There is plenty of room to turn and maneuver any boat that would fit in the 15-foot width that actually you can berth the boat there. There's plenty of room.
It's not your boat they're worried about. It's getting their boat out.
I get it, but it doesn't matter.
Looked at the site.
What's that?
I went over and looked at the site.
Mhm.
And if you put that finger out to the south side, inside the neighbor to the south side is a tough turn. He's done. I mean, he's
Especially with the boat too.
But and I just can't understand why I wouldn't just go to the north side where you've got a road, 40 foot of road, and then the next dock is the neighbor's dock.
So it had to do with an environmental. Part of it was the design of the dock and also where the location of the seagrass was in the survey. We had to mitigate for that. So we have revised this as the gentleman mentioned a couple times to accommodate environmental impact. That's why we've reduced the width of the dock, we've increased the height and spaced out the planks, which were not part of the original design, but after seagrass discovery, that is the mitigation that was accepted and passed by bodies.
I think they can't go north, right? You can't get within 5 feet of those, the northern line, right?
Yeah.
Even
You
a
can't
vessel
really
can't.
follow
A vessel can't sit within 5 feet of
That
that,
is
either,
correct.
right? Nobody, even though nobody lives up there, up north.
That is correct.
Which is a great call out, and that is the reason why you have to leave room if you go back to our side on the south side. Whereas if we made that long dock on the north side, you would not be able to put a vessel. We'd be blocking the easement to the city.
But the way that the Chappelle Group has redesigned it themselves, obviously they are looking out for their client.
Right. Yeah.
It does fix that.
And they're in
Does it not?
That does not fix it.
Not that one. There's one above it that he gave two options. He gave a finger pier and he gave one that goes to the north that stays within your 5 foot setback from that road. And it gives you, right, can you go back? I think it's two back.
Bob, correct me if I'm wrong, but the boat, are you saying the boat can't be in the 5 foot or?
That is correct.
All right, so he could move this down in order to get that 10-foot beam and still have adequate space and keep it. So it's literally be moving this 10 feet, it'd still be enough space.
And there's another one with an arm, correct? That has
And then you can't have the long side the way. Yeah, with that one, you're not going to be able to moor. With this one, you can't moor a 40-foot vessel there.
You said earlier in your
He's got a
presentation
70
you
foot.
can moor here or you can moor
But
solid boat.
Tyler, you can't when the dock's only 16 feet and you're within 5 feet of the north line. You can't put a 40-foot boat there. If you
Sorry,
dock
what
a
you said in
boat,
your
you have
presentation.
20 feet of it off
So
this side. You can't do that.
that's my ask. So
Yes.
you said in your presentation that little finger pier you would dock a boat there or on the side
south side.
here.
You can do it on the south
So on
side.
the
or on
south
the
side, that's the plan because right is the south side put a
Yeah.
dock a boat there.
You can put it on the south side. Yes.
Right. So again, what we're talking about here is if you put a 12-foot beam boat, I've got a 35-foot wide boat or 35 minus 12 and a half. I get it. The sailboats are smaller, but if you put a 11-foot beam boat here, there's no
It's
way to get
36
it.
feet.
Well, it's 32 based upon the actual measurement of the property rights line.
Guys, we're getting into private conversations here. I'm not aware of what you're looking at here. No, but please continue. So I
I'm
guess
looking at the south line.
so the big question is, I keep hearing seagrass. So is seagrass what is affecting you from change configuration?
Well, it's one of them, and the other one is what we're talking about now, which is mooring a vessel that is 40 feet, which is an average size boat now. In this design, if you only have 16 feet on the face dock,
yeah, I agree.
You cannot put a 40-foot boat there, and you can't put it on the other side because now we're well over the city's line. So that is the other reason that we designed it that way. So if you go back to our side, which is what he's talking about, if you could go back, sir, to the other one, I'll show you. We can.
How big is the boat that's there on your client's dock?
There's different boats.
The most east boat.
Which one?
That one.
Yeah, ask the owner. I don't know. It's about a 45-foot trough.
It's a 50-foot.
And just to clarify, the seagrass
53 is about
58 is mitigated by the fact that they're doing half-inch spacing on the decks and the reduction of the access here. The seagrass mitigation that's being referred to is done. It doesn't affect the overall design based on where seagrass is. Reducing the access here. So moving of the docks has nothing to do with seagrass.
So back to your boat, that is the other reason for the design is to have the boat on the south side where if there's 32 or 36 feet and you have an 11-foot beam boat, there's still 21 feet at the worst case scenario of space there. And if you have another 12-foot beam boat that comes in, there's plenty of room to get in and turn and get into that dock. I mean,
if you put a boat on the south side, there is not that. There's a 35-foot boat. I've been a 100-ton capital for 35 years. Got thousands of miles. I mean, it can't be done. You've got current running 2 knots north, 2 knots south, 4 times a day.
I agree. I don't agree. There's plenty of room to maneuver a boat. And there's really no other option. So,
Chair, if I may? Chair, please. So the other option that is not being discussed, and I think is maybe potential, is you get rid of the J, since that seems to be no longer a valid mooring area, and shift this down, keep this L like this, shift this down 10 feet, and then they have that slip on that north side. It solves the problem.
Mr. Chairman, I'd make a motion to table. It seems like, you know, in the spirit of neighbors working together, Mr. Chappelle has obviously put a lot of thought into this. I think like minds can come together and find a solution that makes both neighbors happy. I'd rather see an application come back that is factually as accurate, follows the city requirements with the character and the space that's required from the city, instead of us moving something forward that is not fully proper.
if I could say, I do.
Motion on the table.
Hang on, just wait. So we have a motion on the table. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second. Let's have a roll call vote, please. There's a motion to table.
Yes.
Roll call vote.
Yes.
Discussion. Motion seconded, then there's discussion on the motion.
No discussion on the table.
Table.
You even know Robert's Rule of Order?
Go ahead, please.
A yes vote is in favor of the motion, a no vote is against the motion.
Table. To table. Yes is a motion to table until a future meeting.
Mr. Washington?
Yes.
Mr. Baycott, I'm sorry, Mr. Brunel,
Yes.
Mr. Hobart, Mr. Dunbar,
Yay.
Mr. Flanagan,
No.
Mr. Frank,
Yes.
Mr. Lynch,
Yes.
Mr. Roboski,
No.
Mr. Swindell,
Yes.
It's over.
Mr. Morley,
Yes.
Mr. Mitchell,
No.
Mr. Day,
Yeah.
Chair Whitten.
Yes.
Motion to table passes.
So we have a motion that has been approved to table. I mean, no disrespect to the applicant, et cetera, objections, et cetera. We have an issue here, so we can approve it subject to removing benches. We can approve it subject to the 5-foot setback. As I think Mr. Morley said, or somebody said, it was Bob Swindell, just said, it doesn't seem as if we're that far apart from being able to craft something that's acceptable to both parties. I'd like to see people sit down and if we can help you along with that. I think that sometimes neighbors get to a point where you get to a pissing match and it's just over small issues. So if there's not an issue with seagrass, you can move the dock. You don't have to do anything whatsoever. You can come again and resubmit, or we'll work with Andrew again with this. But we believe we need further information and we need to work with Bob. But we're talking about changing configuration, which is not something we do. So we're not prepared to have you put another proposal on the table. It would have to be reasonable. So this is just I apologize to all, but we hopefully will pick that up again, and hopefully we'll make everybody happy. But thank you again for that. That brings us to good welfare, scuttlebutt, etc. Let me move through a couple of things quickly, and then we're going to move on to Bob Franks and Marco, Chief Waterways Officer. A couple quick things. Again, I forgot my slides at home. Tortuga Fest, April 10th, 12th. Most importantly, the Winterfest Boat Parade is the 13th. It is starting early at 5:30. I don't know who's the MC. I just don't know the individual's name.
Grand Marshal.
Grand Marshal. Who's the Grand Marshal?
We should know that.
So anyways, come see the Grand Marshal, who nobody will understand, but it's the best event we have going here. So Kenny Chesney, yes. Kenny Chesney. He'll be here this summer. I had plenty of other things, guys, but we're burning midnight oil here. Thank you, Tyler. So let's move on to, if I can, I don't have anything special there. Our dear friend Bob Franks has spent a fair amount of time updating some things. Every time Bob is going to put up a slide presentation, he says, I'm going to keep it brief. But, you don't have to keep it that brief. There's a lot of hard work that goes into this. So, Bob, please take your time and show us what you got going on here.
Yeah. Out left. And then it's your right.
Yes.
You stick a big boat down before you
Continue a case. And,
5 feet.
Tabling and continuing is the same, right? Is it?
Continuing is for a date certain, right?
Yeah, typically it's for a date certain. Yes, they'll come back when they're ready to come back.
If we vote to table anything, then they can come back at will, whenever they schedule. Yeah. If we turn it down, is there a waiting period before they can reapply?
No. Well, I appreciate everybody staying here. I'm going to make this as brief as possible. Just sort of an update. I've been spending a lot of time looking at the waterways. Some of you know I've been a captain here for like 50 years. My first job here was a yacht called Cassandra in 1975 with Port Information Company. I've been living here for 40 years. I've been on all kind of boats, 1,600-ton master boat ocean. So I like to be able to bring my expertise. We have a lot of good folks here, but I've been digging this issue. Going up the river, you see the Jungle Queen coming. What do? You know, it's not a lot of room. How do we resolve some of the issues? And what's the actual standard? What's the law? What's the enforcement? How do we make it work on the river? It's getting more and more congested. So we all know about the 25% rule, the 25 feet from the property line, the 30% of the waterway. So looking at the state law here, the state law, state statute, is a person may not anchor or allowed to be anchored aboard in a manner which unreasonably or unnecessarily constitutes a navigation hazard or interference with the vessel. So if we have a situation where the river is really getting congested, even though the boats or the docks may be within the city code, the state code supersedes the city code. So just want you to be aware of that particular statute that can be used if there's an issue in a particular part of the river. Okay, next slide. Or next page, I should say. All right, so yeah.
I have a quick question for you, Bob. Who would be able to enforce that if it's a state code?
FWC.
Okay.
FWC.
Any law enforcement.
Any law enforcement. And Marco is well versed on all that.
Yeah, but like FLPD can enforce that? Okay. That's what I was doing.
Basically, this is something that was really helpful. Andrew and the city were able to come up with the GIS map here showing what some of these dimensions were here on the river. If I look right here at there's a blue line here. This is the actual Corps of Engineers channel right here. The yellow line here is your property lines. So if you say, well, how far out are these boats? Well, the yellow property line, if you're looking at that, well, the purple line here, that's 25 feet. If you're looking at the red line here, that's 30% of the channel.
Where is this, Bob?
This is just west of 7th Avenue. So right now we have a situation right here where we've got a couple of boats that are actually sticking out more than 30%, take 30% of the channel based on the property line.
That's Cooley's Landing.
Right across Cooley's Landing. All right. And if you go to the next page, what you're going to see, this particular property here, they're renting dock slips. That's where some of these big boats are. So if we're looking at enforcement, this is pretty much low-hanging fruit right here. So you've got somebody renting dock space, and they're sticking out 30%. So we're looking at congestion in the river. What do we do? Well, this is one of the areas that can be addressed with enforcement by code. All right, next one. All right, Little Florida. Now, this is the issue that came up a number of years ago because the concern there was a property owner that wanted to put an observation deck out here. That would have really made navigation here difficult for a lot of the boats, the barges, and all that. In this particular drawing, there again, the yellow right here is the property line. This side, yellow property line. Well, if he's going to build something here, you can see that this purple line is 25 feet from the property line. So basically, without a waiver, he can only build something out to right here. So basically, he couldn't build anything here according to current codes. As far as
property is that?
The
state, the city?
Little Florida.
No, I know, but on the other side of the yellow line. If it's not his property,
South Florida Water Management District.
so they cut the trees and they.
No, it's just like the swale in front of your house. It's irresponsible.
Okay.
All right. Well, the point is, at least in this situation that came up, is what do we do? Fortunately, nothing was built over here. That's not to say that somebody over here says, all right, well, listen, I want to put something 25 feet out. I want to put a big boat here. Well, guess what? That's going to really make it difficult to navigate here. That's going to make it really tough. Now, if it meets code, okay, the city says, okay, it's building, you always get a permit. But if you get the Coast Guard, the FWC, so I said, listen, this is a navigation hazard. You go back to state law and says you can't have anything up here that unreasonably restricts navigation. So that is something just to sort of keep on the radar here.
Next slide. Here we go. Now, this is in the Wiggles right here.
Yeah.
This is a pretty tough part of the river to navigate here. There again, yellow line, property line, property line. The red line here is 30% of the river. 30% of the waterway is on the property line. Obviously, this yacht is sticking out 30%. Now, the question is, well, he's 30% out. Should he be cited and told to move? Well, yeah, he's saying, well, listen, my dock is right here. I'm only taking up so much of the waterway, even though the property line's over here. What do you do with this guy? This is going to be one of those situations where, okay, is he in a bad place or not? Now, one of the proposals that I have from what I sent everybody here a month or so ago, what Andrew sent out there recently, is a proposal to designate a waterway, a vessel navigation fairway in different parts of the river. Now, let's say if you take the Wiggles here, how much room do you need for a certain size vessel to navigate in there? If we can define what that waterway is and actually come up with, let's say, a waterway and what's going to be reasonable to set aside as that waterway in that area, then we have something we can tell the neighbors here. Now, how much room do we need? How far can you come out with the cove, or are you going to be in the navigation shaft? And that's going to take some work. But one of the proposals I would have is work with the city, come up with some sort of guide of what the waterway actually should be, the navigable fairway. And that will help determine, is this going to be an interference or not.
Is there a requirement to have towboats if a boat's over a certain size to go? Is there a requirement to have towboats?
No, there's a yacht called Black Hawk. The captain's been doing this river for years. Probably won't hurt too long. He doesn't use tubs. A lot of people love them, yeah.
Insurance. Yeah, I'm down here.
Well, I just want to make a point. I actually asked that of Courtney when we were on a ride recently, and I want to say I think there was the Black Hawk boat that went by us, and I said, Courtney, how do you decide whether to use a tug or not? And he said, well, the first time you suck up a plastic bag, it's going to change things the next time you go up the river. Courtney, how many feet do you need for your fairway here?
Depends on what we're towing.
But if you had to maintain a clear channel, we keep talking 40 feet. Is that right or no?
I'll tell you what, about every 5 or 6 years, I have to bring a transformer up for FPL to their Dania plant. And I take a 55-foot wide barge up through here.
Oh,
and last time we had to do this, they had to go down to a 45-foot wide barge. And that was the smallest barge we could do because the point load is so heavy with this thing that they can't go any smaller with the barge. So,
I have a question for Marco or for Bob, perhaps. Looking at this, we know who has the purview of the jurisdiction to actually make navigational fairway, or short of federalizing the water and having the Coast Guard do it. Can the city of Fort Lauderdale create these zones, or is that more of South Fort Lauderdale Management District, or give me some idea of who can actually do this?
I could probably help you with this, but from my understanding, we could create, and it can't be retroactive, but we would be able to create special areas in which we would define as a special navigation district due to its importance for navigation, where we could, in theory, not entertain dock waivers in that area any further if they are within that special area.
When you say special area, do you mean like a small area or like the whole river?
We can't. I don't think the idea was to not do a moratorium on the entire river, but areas like the Wiggles, areas like Little Florida, there's specific areas that we can identify that are tight, that need to be protected, and those areas we can basically create a. We will not entertain dock waivers in this area if your property is in that area. And I mean, what I would suggest against, which I'm sure everyone is probably thinking, would be a reduction in the 30% that the boat is allowed to stick out, because while it would serve its purpose of keeping the waterways open, I don't think that would ever get passed because now you're going to be limiting property values are going to go down, and I don't think any commissioners are going to get behind the district losing property values.
Well, the argument that happened during the moratorium conversation, and I think this conversation too, the code exists for a reason. And what these homeowners have to realize is they bought a house under existing code. Every time they come for a waiver request, they're asking for something outside of the code due to an extraordinary circumstance. John Smith buying a bigger yacht to dock at his house is not an extraordinary circumstance.
Can I write that down?
I mean, I'm sorry.
To John Smith.
I mean, I'm for boats. You guys know that. Living on the water, living on the water. I'm all for this. Yeah, I'm looking at a bigger boat right now. We have to discuss. I'm looking at a new house because I'm looking at moving where I live because the dock space I have where my current boat is. Yeah, I found a new boat I'm looking at. It's just simple facts. I gotta go to a bigger house, bigger neighborhood.
So I think that a good first step to probably go towards our goal would probably be identifying certain special navigation districts, navigation areas, whatever fancy name you want to come up with, and then making it so that, okay, if you purchase a house in that area, your stock waiver will not be entertained. You're stuck at the 30%, period.
I don't know that I'm ready to go as far as we will not entertain the
Right.
dock waiver. I would be more prone to go down the path that this would be a factor that would be taken into consideration in granting.
That was my question a minute ago. Was that when you start onesie and twosieing these like this guy's obviously over 30%. If you go into this situation where you're like, well, you're over 30%, but we don't really care because it's a little bit wider and we can get our boats around there, but you're not. That leaves just legalities because you're not enforcing the law. You're selectively enforcing the code. Litigation. Yeah. So, I mean, like the city can get sued, whatever, like, you know what I mean? So the bottom line is people who are not following the code need to be cited. Because if we clean that up, then we can come back to understanding what our actual canal looks like. Because if we don't clean up the 30%, people are over the breaking the law or breaking the code, we can't understand, hey, do you guys have the ability to move those boats? Once we do that, then we can look at special areas and like designate, you know, because then I think it also takes down those special areas. Because
isn't that boat sticking over the property line? Huh?
Okay, well, the point of looking at this is that
it's not supposed to be there anyway.
It's not
setback right there too.
It's over the property line anyway.
Once you define that, then you can look at the other parts. But
we don't need a minimum fairway to enforce code. We don't need that. That boat is breaking code if that boat's still there. And this is not an old, you know, a photo from Google Maps. But I'm saying that boat, those are things that code can go and look at that boat right now. Obviously, that boat can't fit anywhere in his property because of the way his bend is and the way his dock is. He really bought a bad property to put a decent sized boat there, even though it's even though it's a beautiful property and it's probably expensive. That boat is not not something that he should not have been looking at the property as that boat, like you.
So, Bob, question. If we look at that, the average 30%. Maybe just 40%. Right? The average width is the new brick. What's that number? In our discussion about making a fairway or making the navigation right.
Which is not a
do we have that number? Do we get that number? Well, take a look at the
hey, Bob, we'll see you later. Saying,
parking lot to parking lot.
Well, I mean, why does it say dock face to dock face? This is a general easy to the map. About 100 feet from here.
So that would give us a 40-foot wide, 40% hole, which is not sufficient for us, you know,
exactly. Yeah. And there again, you're looking at bends in the river.
Sure.
I mean,
that's the way. So
we had to move that boat to get up the river.
Yeah, I was going to ask you. How many boats are going to move that large?
So we have to define that.
Well, when you move it, do you guys have codes come out?
We don't do it.
No, but I mean, like when you look, obviously you do a plan, right? When you do a plan for that, and when you do a plan, you see that boat. Do we call code and say, hey, this boat's sticking out past its thing? Because that's, first of all, if your barges start doing that, we start getting all these boats cleaned up. Because then they start investigating. Because they don't investigate unless somebody calls. Right. They really don't, right?
like ratting potential clients though.
Okay, I've got the table here.
I have a question. If either of these properties were to come to us for a document, we would be measuring it from the property.
Yes.
My question is, who owns this? I don't know. Marco, I know what your answer was with regard to the Little
I
Florida.
mean, on GIS, technically, it would be South Florida Water Management. They own everything until the confluence of the river.
So these are other stuff that actually owns the dock.
I've been wrestling with one, and we talked about
same thing.
where there's a 1,000 square foot, approximately 1,000 square foot triangular parcel of land, which was in the 1923 plat of Riviera, was a canal. It was water, and it's been somehow dredged and filled. They're applying for a dock waiver measuring it from their platted property lines, but they don't own the parcel that's 1,000 feet. That's why I asked that question, because I'm in a major wrestling match with the folks on that particular case.
So how do they even get a dock put on there? Like if that dock is in disrepair and needs to be totally replaced, what do? What's the concept of that? Do they?
I'd have to defer to the building department.
Well, I think a lot of this warrants more discussion, more than we can do here tonight. But I think we need to define a navigable fairway, and then how do we adjust from there? Like I said, the property lines and all that is a separate issue, or it's related, but we can't solve it tonight. But just want to get this on the radar. Again, all this information here is available online if you want to look this up for the whole river. So that all this information is available online.
So, hang on. Sure. Since you said that, I got a question for Mr. Don. Since all this information is in the public domain now and available online, let's suppose, hypothetically, let's say with the bridges, let's put the large yacht there in that picture. There was a collision, an accident, a fatality. That vessel's obviously encroaching on the record beyond code compliance. Would the city be complicit or liable in litigation for permitting that vessel to exist outside the code? No.
It'd be the same if a car was speeding down Broward Boulevard and suing the police department because he didn't get a ticket.
But if you got notified that and you didn't do anything, then it would be city
That's a horse of a
That's
different,
a different
right,
concept.
It can imply different results.
I'm just trying to see how this is going to snowball. Look further down.
I just realized these images from GIS, I believe, are from 2015 or 2018.
Right.
GIS has not been updated image-wise. This is only
So the yacht's still there.
Yeah.
No, but I think your point is
it's actually worse than you're saying.
Also,
yes.
consider this artwork. You have to go to
the jet ski right into it. That changes things.
But it's not only that. If we're going to talk about sweeping through and trying to start the code part, it's on some of these captains. Like, you moving, call the code. Instead of moving that boat, instead of calling the guy and saying, hey, can you please move your boat? We're about to come through. Call code enforcement prior. Have them write these guys up. You might have to do 50 of them. But then at least they get fined. They're on the numbers. Then they can come back and look at them, make sure that they're doing it. They didn't put it back here in a month. And then, because these guys don't just go out wandering around looking. And now we've changed the law to where your name has to be put on a complaint. So if you complain and like try to have a code violation, somebody has to put your name. You have to put your name down. A lot of people don't complain anymore,
right?
Because they don't want to put their name down. But you guys are a business, and this affects your business. Right. So complain about it. Knock out 50 of these every time you go up and down that river when you're doing it, and you know.
You got nothing else going on with it.
How does that yacht get?
I get it, but like it's costing you money, and this is something that we're getting in, and like there's.
Okay.
You see it every day too.
Okay, we talked about coming up with a fairway, coming up with one of those conventions. But right now, Lauderdale Outs.
Yeah.
Okay. Here, I took these photos last week, and you can see all these boats. This is going around the curve. It's like
Rick Obey's dog.
284. You got Rick Obey and all that.
You're back to Key Largo.
Key Largo, exactly. All right, go ahead. Next page. All right, this is Key Largo Lane over here. This is the dock here, the Shelley Knott's house right over here, right across from good old Rick. Go ahead, next page. All right, this is continuing, and you can see it's starting to get narrow. Remember, this is a bend in the river. It's not like a straight shot. You don't know what's coming around the bend. You don't have a whole lot of room. Next page. All right, look at this. Now, I took that boat through here. Okay, this is on the end of Marathon. There's not a lot of room. I was on a 30-foot boat with probably like an 18-foot beam, something like that. And there's not a lot of room.
But is that, you think that's meets code?
I can actually answer. The boat on the right, it's in Dania.
Yeah,
That's
but
the problem.
they still have the same. They still have the same rules. They just have
Boat on the right is to the centimeter in compliance.
Love it.
The boats on the left are in the town of Davie, and they do not have any ordinance that regulates how far they can stick out from the property.
So they could close off navigation.
We haven't had that happen yet, so
That's
I
no, that's where the state.
Yeah,
statute
the
comes
state.
in.
Yeah,
You go
exactly.
back to the state code where you can't unreasonably restrict the navigation. That's why I put that state law in here, and FWC can deal with those.
Farther upstream, they can't get out.
Okay. All right, what we have here is this area right here, and the red and the blue lines are roughly the dividing line between City of Fort Lauderdale and Dayton, right over here. And this is Rick Obey's operation here. He's got these two different properties here. Our neighborhood fought this whole thing about 10 or 12 years ago. There's some folks that wanted to bring in parts for Hampton yachts and put them together and fabricate them right here. They wanted to change the zoning. Our neighborhood fought it. So this is still residential. This is residential. Obviously, this is residential right here. And there again, this is a close-up Rick Obey. Go ahead, next page. All right, there's the information about that particular property. Next page. Okay, this adjoining property right there. It's got marine property management. I believe that's also Rick's property. I don't know that particular name, but I think that's his property. Next slide. Okay, you've got the information. All right, next one. Okay, this is on the end of this is Key Larkin's over here, and we've got the other street right over here, Gulfstream. This particular property, Clear Sales property. Also, this other property is owned by Rick Obey. This property, keeps storing his boats over here. Next slide. Okay, there you go. Clear Sales property. Next one. Okay, now Clear Sales Properties just purchased this property right next to Shelley's house right here. So he's got this property, and this property, and I'll show you where he's got this property as well. Next one. Okay, there's that property, owns that one. Next one. Next one. Okay, these are all of the entities that Rick Obey has, and you see Clear Sales Property. So this is with the state of Florida corporation and all that. So basically, he runs all these. He has all these properties. You go the next page. There's another page of LLCs. Another one more page here. All right, that's all I've got on this. Does anybody see a pattern?
Hey, he's trying to open it.
All right. Well, here's the first of all. Shelley Knott lives right across. Can you explain what's going on over there, or what how's affecting you?
Thank you for letting me speak to you tonight. So it started with Rick Obey. We're just across the river from him, and so I'll start from the beginning of our issues with him. In 2017, the day before Hurricane Irma, there was a curfew at 4 o'clock that everybody had to be home by then. So we secured the house and left. At 2 o'clock, I was looking at the cameras and I said, what the heck is all that? Where there were all these ropes from his boats over to our dock. Okay. Did he ever ask? No. So I called and left a terse message for him. He didn't call me back. He called my son, who happens to be a Florida attorney. So Obey and his attorney call my son and tell him, oh, that's not trespassing. Well, yeah, that's trespassing. But anyway, there were some lawyer letters back and forth, and Obi wrote a letter stating he would not trespass on our dock in the future, which obviously he must have forgotten about. So over the years, there have been many times where these boats kind of hover at the dock, and I run out there and tell them, you can't go here, this is a private dock. Eventually they'll move on, but they want to negotiate, well, can we just park there overnight? No. And that's happened numerous times. Only one time of the numerous times that that's happened have they said that they had a problem with the boat. And they actually parked at the dock, and I ran out there and said, you got to leave. And they said, oh, we have a problem. I said, I don't care. We have legal letters, you have to leave. So what they did was they took ropes from the Davie side of the river and then pulled the boat across and double parked it for a day. Honestly, I was happy they were off my dock because I was concerned about how long they would be there. He also has boats on the Davie side where sometimes there's liveaboards and they'll throw their garbage in the river, their cigarettes, liquid, whatever. So I witnessed that on more than one occasion. I just want to make sure I get everything. Oh, in early November, some of those boats he has are 60, 80, 100 feet. He double parked 2 large yachts, right, in the back, our backyard, whatever, across the river, and left the diesel engine running all day long. So it stunk out there. The next week, he double parks 2 big yachts on the next neighbors, one over from me. And that was there for 2 days with the engine running 1 full day. So he just kind of does whatever he wants. There was a very large boat when he had the double parking. I was trying to come through, which barely missed hitting our dock because there wasn't enough room. I've called the town of Davie. They are not interested in doing anything. They're just like, don't bother them. He did buy the 2 houses next to us. He tried to buy a 3rd house in the cul-de-sac. Sent the guy a contract for as is. The guy signed it, sent it back to him. He hadn't signed it, and then he decided to renegotiate the as is. And the owner said, forget it. Otherwise, there would be 3 houses in the cul-de-sac that were sold to him. His realtor told one of the neighbors that they're going to do Airbnbs. So we've had some Airbnbs on our street, which have been quite disruptive. They have parties that go on all night. They're loud. They film porn videos. I mean, you name it, it's been done. So, we're concerned.
So thank you very much. Bob, bringing it back here and in the sense of the time, we have 2 very different issues here. We started out talking about safe navigation. We no longer have a moratorium language, but fortunately we haven't had a waiver request on the river. So clearly what you're talking about is a very big picture, and one of the things I noted after all of Bob's work is it is time for action. We've talked about this for a year. Bob's put a lot of time into it, so we need to come up with a plan of action. What we're talking about with Rick Obey, and again, it's not news to a lot of us that he's running an operation up there, but that is totally separate to this discussion. And I'm not sure what action we can take or where it goes. It certainly seems it's a code issue, but it's really nothing we can do with this. Am I correct? We're not addressing this issue right now, Bob. So thank you. It's clearly something that is under our peer purview when it comes to illegal dockage, etc. But it's something that we would have to put on the agenda, etc. So I can speak to Bob. Go ahead, Ted.
Yeah, the only time that I would say it becomes under the city of Florida's purview is on the Lauderdale Isles properties. If he's running a business out of there, if there's commercial dockage over there, that becomes part of city of Lauderdale code compliance action on that side. Kind of, Dave, you can't do anything about
Right.
it.
Yeah, and if I remember correctly, in the annexed area, it's not a 30%; it's 33 to 30%. Right.
Yeah. I used to live there too. I was
Yeah.
on that.
And basically, so I want to put a spotlight now. Look at, okay, we're looking at future things, what we're planning, but also immediately how are we being effective? We have a mini marina in the neighborhood here, and something needs to get done. Now, we've got Jeff Rings in Lauderdale Isles. We've got Earl Frisley. They're with the association there. They've talked to you, Marco, a lot. Your code guys on it. I talked to the code guy at their last meeting. So, you're very much aware of that situation. The danger and concern is if it's happening in Lauderdale Isles, it could happen anywhere in the city of Fort Lauderdale. So, are there existing codes, i.e., in this situation, the boats are clogged, and if you can't use the city code, those boats restricting navigation, use the state code as far as that particular goes. As far as that little mini marina business, like I say, that can happen anywhere. I want to put the spotlight on it, and like I say, your guys are on top of it, and Jeff Raines and Earl, they're on top of it. But if you guys weren't aware of it, I'll make sure that, hey, it may be coming to you if we don't find a way to resolve it.
If I can make something for the table to think about. Our code enforcement staff is on it. However, they're on the boat half a day, 2 days a week, if weather permitting. If the boat is operational, which hasn't been in quite a little bit. So, something for maybe the thought. It's been tossed around for a long time, getting a full-time marine code compliance officer. I think a lot of the issues could be solved if they were just in compliance. I don't think all of these issues need to go beyond if they're just in compliance. The problem is, again, being a code officer half a day, 1 day a week or 2 days a week, weather permitting. I mean, you don't have the time to do certain things, to be as proactive as you can be. So possibly maybe the board making a recommendation to the commission about in a future budget, including a full-time marine code compliance officer. Putting that out there.
Or assigning one of the existing code compliance officers as a full-time.
The problem is all the code officers, the reason they're only on the boat for half a day, and they split it. So if you're on the boat, you're only on it 1 day a week, half a day, because all the code officers have assigned districts that they have to actually patrol. The boat is just an extra duty on top of that.
Should be its own district.
It should be its own district.
So they can't just get to these from the cul-de-sac, or
most of the time, no. I mean, it depends. People work during the day. You have to get access to the back. You can't just walk on the property.
you can't have someone in the neighborhood filing a report. Like I know over like River Oaks, Ted will be like, "Hey, if you have a problem, call me and I'll call code." So my name is on there.
Problem is the complaint is at the back of the house. So without a boat, you can't see the complaint. So I mean, I can't see the canal from the road.
Do you guys know that the code complainer, the person that calls, is not on a boat? It's like, how do you know that?
They could be across the street, but whether they want me to go onto their property is a whole separate
if you
issue.
have a complaint filed, you can get a hold of that property owner and get on their property.
We are not allowed to get on the property.
Not at all.
Oh, so
Not
even if someone
unless-
complains,
Unless they grant me access. If I say, hey, I'm here to see if you are in violation, will you allow me to go gather evidence against you to cite you?
Good to know.
No, code enforcement does not have the right to do that.
I figured there would be like some kind of like thing you have to do, like months of thing, and then finally you can go on there and look at it.
Code enforcement legally can get a warrant, but has it ever been done in the city of Fort Lauderdale? I don't think so.
and then so do they prioritize code violation complaints when they're on the boat, or it's like your time is so limited?
Time is so limited that they only can do complaints.
And it doesn't even exist currently.
So, Mr.
Right,
Chair,
right now, it's
Yeah.
ever
should this board consider making a recommendation to follow Marco's?
I think that's a great idea.
Yeah,
I
I
agree.
agree.
Talk to our respective
Yeah.
commissioners.
Yeah.
Yep. We'll
Um,
do.
I'm not sure it's something we do now or we bring it to the next meeting and discuss and lay it out, but I think it's something we absolutely would recommend.
Just as a follow-up to Bob's thing here, since we can't operate outside of the room with sunshine laws, any topic of conversation on these, like the work you do here, has to occur on our agenda.
Correct.
So should we approve a permanent agenda item to discuss New River navigational concerns?
So we've actually, so Ted was on the board actually, I think when we started the moratorium. That obviously didn't go anywhere, but that's a very good point. So Bob has basically, first of all, he has incredible patience. Because every time we do this, he's at the ass end of the agenda. Every time. So, but here, again, we gave him time. I think that it's just implied that it comes back, but I think we should keep it at kind of a permanent agenda item. So one of the points that Bob made, again, we've been talking about it. It's not time to talk. It's time to really put this into action. And it's one of the things we talk about with the whiteboard. So we'll focus on this. So you're going to be spending time with this, Bob. So thank you.
Right. Yeah.
Absolutely great idea.
Yeah. Just one other point there. You know, looking at this whole issue with the river. If you go to the Coast Guard, they basically tell us what you want us to do, but they don't really do anything unless you really force them to do something. If we want to have a defined navigational fairway, tell us what you want. We'll come in and make a federal thing. So it's not, you look to them, but they're looking to us. We've got other entities that are interested in the river and the marine industry, but guess what? We're the ones that really are pushing it or taking a leadership role. So that's what we need to do. We need to go through the iterations, look at it. Okay, what makes sense? How do we navigate through the laws, the codes? How do we do it? So it's this group right here. So let's just keep working on it, moving ahead. We've come a long way from where we were, like I say, a number of years ago, and that's because of all the efforts of everybody. But I think one thing is that I've been able to send a couple of emails out with information, and if you have any questions about it, I sent one out. Well, Andrew sent a copy a couple of days ago. I did a whole analysis on what size channel you need for what size boats, and looking at that, and where it fits, where it doesn't fit, and what are the laws, what are the regulations, and we want to dial this in, get it down. So let's just kind of keep working on it, but it's going to be us that comes up with what makes sense. You're not going to wait for the Coast Guard; they're not going to do it. The Commission wants advice from us. MAISF, great organization. They have a lot of stuff they're doing, very supportive, but this is going to come from us. So send me, like I say, if you want to send a message to the group and there's information for me to digest and figure out, I'll be happy to. But I want to solve the problem and get this dialed in. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Volunteer our boat to go for code for a day, go for a ride.
They're utilizing the boat when they can.
But he said it was broken for months.
Yeah, it is broken. It is broken.
Right, so if I wanted to say, hey, I'm not doing anything, come for a ride with me,
probably not.
That is why not, right? Yeah, that would be my why not thing. We could join Boat USA and get them a boat each week.
The budget cycle starts in October. So if you're asking for the creation of another position, you should craft the communication to the commission carefully. We're not in a hurry to do it necessarily right now, or you could do it right now, or we could come back to it at the next meeting. It's up to you. But because the budget cycle starts in October, we're already in December. It takes the pressure off time.
Or we'd just be asking them to include the funding.
Correct. So that would start next October. That's just the way it works.
I'd rather write up a formal proposal that we can ask the board.
You want to craft a careful communication with the commission.
So Barry posed the question of whether or not we should actually bring to a vote a request of the commissioners that they add that position. As Andrew said, it's not going to make any difference right now. So unless somebody feels to the contrary, I think it makes sense to write up a well-composed recommendation, vote on it next month.
You can send them through Marco and myself, then we can both look at it, and then we can disseminate it to the board.
Yep. Great idea. Anybody else?
It just doesn't sound like a position that the public is going to be super strongly in favor of, though. Unfortunately, right? Lower code enforcement, like, okay, we all like that. I'm just saying.
As long as
obviously it's necessary, but
monitoring decibels, we're not real happy with that. But I think something like this will get some traction on. So thank you, Bob. So Marco, as long as you're standing there, you got the floor. Anything special you want to
keep it super brief so we can
Wonderful.
Two things. The sewage pump out vote. We did our bidding. We have chosen our vendor, so we're moving along with that. So it's coming, should be coming soon. There is no bathroom line. No, no name yet.
Here. We're going to start. So we're supposed to start. So Ted, we're supposed to just before you came back on. So we had Susan Leon here. Susan Leon, so she's the director of education. So she's actually going to handle the contest with the school kids and naming it. So if you could dream it, they're going to come up.
So interestingly enough, it was the British Coast Guard did the same thing for their newest icebreaker, and the school kids picked Bodie Boat Face.
That's been a popular.
And it's now called Sir David Edinburgh. They totally changed it. Yeah, the kids did work out too well. So yeah, we'll have fun.
I think you should be allowed to submit names as well.
It's a fun thing.
So, other than that, December 16th, I'll be presenting at the conference commission conference meeting for the Living Seawall Permit Fee Rebate Program. The way it's being presented, residential properties will be able to apply if they are installing a living seawall. We will cover 100% of the base permit fee for the installation of that seawall. Commercial properties would also be able to apply for the program, but we would only fund 75% just because generally the permit fees for commercial seawall are much more expensive. So that should be going December 16th. I have this real-time tide stations. FDEP is in the process of trying to install tide stations throughout the city. They want to install 4 in the city of Fort Lauderdale, with the first one being at George Inglis Park, the other one being at the confluence of the New River, one being at Lauderdale Isles, and another one somewhere in the northern end of the ICW. Those tide stations will be on a map where they get updated every 15 minutes. Why they chose to just do tide and not other parameters, I don't know, probably because of funding issues. But the city is not paying for it. We're just helping them pick locations for the actual tide stations. And then lastly, I think Sam will be very happy about this. South Florida Water Management District is doing a project in the C9 Canal, which is down in Miami. They are basically what they're doing is there's a canal. They're going to carve out a section off to the side of it, and they're going to try 3 different filtration methods for the water in that canal before pumping it further off into Biscayne Bay to see if they can clean the water as it moves east. Those 3 methods that they're going to be using is Golden Gold, which is a product that claims to absorb phosphorus, nitrogen, and supposedly 90% of bacteria. So hopefully that works. The other 2 products are removing phosphorus and nitrogen, and the last one would remove fuel and oil sheens and different types of characteristics from the water. So they're going to be testing that. They're in the process. They just awarded the bid. They're going to be constructing this down there in Miami, so maybe we can take a field trip. But if it works down there, obviously the idea would be to advocate for them to do the same thing up here. Ideally in the North Fork of the New River,
Thank you.
But again, that is their project. It's their water body. We have no ownership of the North Fork of the New River in that section. So all we can do is advocate for them to bring that same technology here if it works. That's pretty much all I got.
Thank you very much. So, couple last things I have, and anybody else can certainly jump in. Under best and final, I'm sorry, best and final. I'm crazy. My head's up my ass. Under old new business, we had talked about for January, the January meeting. Last year, we had a joint MIASF meeting to kind of come up with joint projects. I don't know, maybe we'll ask them to come. We did pretty good by ourselves. And what we did last year is we came up with that. We threw some things around, and this was the original whiteboard. In no particular order, we talked about illegal discharge, illegal charges, on and on. And we've addressed many of them. When we come back next month, that's going to be empty. And we're going to start over again. We're going to talk about what we just talked about with Bob Frank's time for action on the New River. Some of the things Ted Morley talked about. So it's putting things into action, and we're going to start fresh. So what I would ask you to be kind enough to do is just think about some of the things you'd like to either continue from this previous year or new objectives. Obviously, water, Sam, is clean water is something we're going to focus on. Some of the other things we'll continue on, but let's see if we can open up a new chapter. And I have one last thing with that, and that is, Louis, have you decided who won this sweater contest?
Oh, the sweater? Yes. Our decision.
Where
wearing
it.
You win the barn.
This will be interesting. Drum roll.
Decision. Your boss is wearing it.
Oh, yes. Yes. Yes, you got it, Andrew.
Oh, thanks.
All right.
There you go.
What does Andrew get?
All right.
Another
I want you to know this was not fixed. He gets a. You're not losing.
Is another candle?
Another candle. So first of all, he gets what is now will be the first annual, and this is not the first annual. The Ugly Sweater Award, the Ugly Christmas Sweater Award, first place Ugly Sweater Contest, Marine Advisory Board, December 2025. So.
That was
we had to give it something nice, so we all contributed, and we got you a throw.
Oh, cool.
Hey, you're all set.
Hold on, stand up with the sign.
That's
the throw. Hold the sign.
Yeah, hold the sign. With that, does anybody else have anything else?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
I thought there was something on the agenda regarding 1409 Southwest 17th Street.
So I apologize. I should have announced at the beginning that was pulled. If you guys been waiting for that, I'm very sorry.
Okay.
So at the beginning of this meeting, I hope you enjoyed it.
Yeah, I learned a lot. That was good.
So a memo did go out that was the case, and it might come around next month.
How do I stay aware of this? The only reason I heard about it is someone on my canal paper dropped something in everybody's mailbox. It's the only reason I knew about it. So have to do that. What?
No, not for that. No.
Where do you live?
I'm on the Orange Isle side, so I'm basically upstream of the canal. So I was here to contest the.
So the way the code's written is, I notice every unit within 300 feet of a given address.
Yeah.
In that case, it resulted in approximately 10 properties on both sides of the canal.
Yeah.
You're outside, obviously.
Yeah. So somebody in that radius, I assume, is aware, and they dropped a piece of paper in everybody's mailbox to make everyone in the neighborhood aware.
I understand. So the other thing I do is I send the agenda to the homeowners associations themselves.
Okay.
And they've been notifying people in this case concerning that particular item. It's my understanding.
Okay.
But I can tell you that right now it's scheduled to come back on January 6th, which is a Wednesday, in January. And as a motion to reconsider, as opposed to originating from the applicant himself, it's coming back as a discussion item at the board level. So please plan to come on January 6th. You can always find me with your contact information. I can stay in contact with you directly.
It's a public hearing part would be closed though, because it's a reconsideration.
That's right, but you can attend the meeting.
Hear? Oh, you can't make comment.
It's a motion to reconsider. It's something Bob can speak to if you wanted to, but it's nothing that we're addressing right now.
So it's an ongoing issue we have. If we notify people 300 feet person that's 305 didn't get it. So, yeah, welcome to stay in touch with Andy. You can call the office. With
No,
your,
yeah, I'd love to do that because I mean, in this instance, it basically affects everybody upstream. Yeah.
Well, thank you for joining me. Anything else?
Yes, so Mr. Chairman, if I may please.
Yes, please. I'm sorry. We have a.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank
you.
You're welcome.
Appreciate your time and service.
Sam, you got the floor.
As a Marine Advisory Board member, I think that all of our board members need to frequent. I'm sorry, take that back. I think that we need to visit at least the Norfolk River so you can see the importance of this river. And I'm comfortable. Well, I shouldn't say that either. I'm always saying stuff I shouldn't say. But anyway, I think you should go over and look at the Norfolk River. You can get there by going to the Salvation Army and going down to that dead end and just walk around and look at that river. We need to know what I'm talking about when I speak about the Norfolk River. It is a waterway, and we all should visit.
Sam, I've been up.
Okay. You've been there? Okay. Okay, great.
And they have a water correct. It is a vital artery that is not represented.
Yes.
Voice here is valuable.
That thing is nice in there. It
Was
really
there
is.
schools on that river that could be get access? Yeah. There's
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Do we have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Second.
Sam.
Yes.
All in favor?
Aye.
Happy New Year. Happy Merry Christmas. Happy Hanukkah. Happy Kwanzaa. We'll see you next year.